Ashley Lewis is suing former friend, 19-year-old Chris Chips, for a bounce check he allegedly wrote to her. Chris says Ashley is trying to frame him for something he didn't do.
Order. All rise.
Yeah, it's case number 427 on the calendar in the matter Lewis versus Chip.
Thank you.
You're welcome, Judge. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Miss Lewis, this young man used to be a friend of yours. He's not anymore. It is your claim that he asked you to cash a check for him. You said okay. Took the check, went to your bank, deposited the check, gave him some cash, and the check bounced, causing all kinds of fees. You want to be compensated for both the cash that you gave him and all the fees that were incurred by you as a result of this bounced check.
Correct.
And Mr. Chip says that he never gave you a check, right?
Correct.
You have a copy of the check?
I do indeed.
I'd like to see it, please. Is this the way the check looked when you cashed it?
I never saw the check. He deposited it into the ATM. He was
not true.
present with me.
Shh. I didn't ask you anything.
Your Honor, Chris and Nick were both there when he deposited the check into my account. I never saw the check. I asked to sign it, and he said, no, that's not that kind of check.
Okay. Do you have notification from the bank that it's a bad check?
I have my bank statement. They kept all the paperwork for their fraud department. They didn't give me any of that information. This one shows all the fees that were caused, and this shows the check deposited and the money that he withdrew that day.
What was the date?
It was October 22nd. It was a Thursday, around 7 p.m.
It wasn't October 22nd.
The check was deposited on October 22nd. Then following day, I went into the bank to check
October 26th, ATM envelope deposit, debit adjustment, $200. So they adjusted it on the 26th.
Yes, that's the day that I went in with my grandmother to figure everything out. She had lent me money to unfreeze my account so I could receive my check from work. Otherwise, I would not have gotten paid.
Tell me what he said he needed the money for.
He called me on October 23rd asking for money to go to work over in Spokane on a construction job.
Don't open your mouth.
I take my job very seriously, and so I figured he did as well.
Well, you said October 23rd. I thought you deposited the check on the 22nd.
Sorry, the 22nd. I called the police on the 23rd. On the 22nd, he did call me, and he told me that he needed money to get to Spokane, which is a good 4-hour drive there and back. He was going to spend the weekend doing a construction job. I said, okay. He told me he had a check for $200. He would only need a certain amount, and the rest I could keep as a thank you. And I said, well, that's a little weird, but okay.
He had a check for how much?
$200.
And he needed how much?
He didn't give me a certain amount until we were there, which he withdrew to $120. So I had $80 left over.
Okay. Have him sign his name 5 times, please. You know how I love this job.
Said 5 times? 5, right?
Comes right after 4. Okay. Now you've done it 5 times?
5 times.
Just stop it! You've written your name 5 times. Before I look at it, sir, is this the way you usually sign your name?
Yes, it's my legal name.
Fine. Your name is Christopher?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you know that I can actually read that?
It's good.
I can't read your signature on your answer, sir.
My answer?
Your answer. The document that you signed and swore to and told me was your story. Do you want to see your signature on your answer?
Yes, please.
Because it doesn't look like these 5.
Okay.
Now you know what I'm talking about,
yes,
Christopher?
I understand what you're talking about.
Do you understand what I'm talking about, Christopher? So when I asked you, is this the way you generally sign your name?
Yes.
The answer is yes. Could you explain to me why you signed your name in a different way when you signed your deposition?
I do it
your
Chris or
sworn
Christopher.
answer?
I could write it 5 times again for you.
No, listen to me. I want you to explain to me, sir, if this is the way you sign your name, which I can actually read.
Yes.
why you chose to sign your name differently on the answer that you filed with the court, this court.
Yes, probably because I was in a hurry when I was writing it. I know it doesn't sound like a good excuse, but I left all the other paperwork at the hotel room. So I had a really, really short time to go through everything, and I'm not sure I initialed or signed my name correctly as it should be as my legal name. But the majority of the time, pretty much all the time I write my signature, it's Christopher Chips.
Do you have a driver's license?
I do, but it just says Chris Chips on it.
I'd like to see it.
It's from 06.
I want to see it.
Oh, wait.
Because you sign it, don't you?
Yeah,
you
they took
sign
it,
it, don't you?
Yes.
Get
Sign
it.
the bottom. They have, all right.
Oh, they can get it. We don't
right.
steal driver's licenses
Oh, I know.
here. Walk out the door.
Walk out. All right, I'll be right back. Hold up.
Your color is changing.
Me?
Yeah. It's changing.
Right on.
You know what you're saying to yourself? I hope she doesn't call on me.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Where did you work last week? Think before you answer this question.
Okay.
Your life could depend on it, sir.
Okay.
Where did you work last week?
And later today,
How was that case resolved, Mr. Lindsay?
I served my time for the
You pled guilty.
and I served my time for the probation, and it was all dismissed.
You pled guilty. Answer is yes.
Yes.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Ashley Lewis claims former friend Chris Chips bounced a check he wrote to her and refuses to make good on it.
I would almost pay them to do this job.
I have retrieved the license.
Bird, would you get me his license, please?
Certainly.
Might I say again, that was
No, I don't want you to say anything.
December 06.
Here we go. I can almost read this. Chris Chips. There you go.
Yep.
Yeah. This doesn't
Yep.
look anything like what you signed here in this answer.
Like I said this morning, I was in a hurry when I was writing it.
Were you in a hurry when you were writing this?
Yeah, I was excited. I was like, I got my license. I wanted to go whip my car around.
Take out the rest of the items in your wallet. Bird, get his wallet for me, would you please?
I don't know if I have it.
Just get his wallet for me. I don't want him to.
I have
just get his wallet.
$200 in there, Miss Judy.
Cross Blue Shield doesn't usually have it, right? Chase.
Take a
Christopher Chips, so he
25 in my
chooses not to
favor.
sign this. So this you didn't sign. You should always sign your bank card, sir. Okay. You got 30 seconds, Christopher.
Tell you my side of the story?
30
seconds. All right. It was December 08. I was working as an automotive technician at a small independent shop in Washington, or in Auburn, where we live. And I got laid off at the end of December, and that's when Ashley came up to me at my last paycheck and asked if I could loan her $200. And I said,
Your Honor.
that shouldn't be a problem. Like, I've loaned her money before. It wasn't a problem for her paying me back. I just said, pay me back in a couple weeks. And then January 09, probably a couple weeks, 2 weeks later, I ran into her at the mall, and I saw her. I said, do you have my money? And she says, no, I don't have your money. It's just a big story. So months go by. I'm trying to call her, text her, MySpace. She's just impossible to find, Miss
Check.
Judy.
Check.
Oh, with the check. There's no check. I've never seen a check. I've never written a check. I've never signed a check. So October 14th, I finally run into her at the mall, and she's shopping with her friends. And I say, do you have my money? But this time it's almost a year, and I'm livid about it. I'm pretty. And so she said, oh, all I have is like $210 or something. So I say, then that's fine. Give me the $200 that I loaned you over a year ago. And then I get a call a week later saying I owe her over $500 and that she's made police reports, and I've never seen
Can
one
I see the police report, please? You went over your time.
That one is for the fraudulent check that he gave me. Your Honor, may I say something?
Not necessary. Where do you work, Mr. Chips?
Where do I work? I'm
Where do you work?
Oh,
I asked the
I'm-
question. I knew what question I asked.
I was okay. in between jobs for the week that I'm down, or the 3 days that I'm down here. So I'm starting again at Scarf Ford in Auburn. So I'm a lube tech at a Ford dealership.
Where did you work last week?
I worked at
Where did you work? Think before you answer this question.
Okay.
Your life could depend on it. So
Okay.
where did you work last week?
Auburn Foreign Car.
Were you paid in check or cash?
Check.
Did you work there the week before?
Yes, ma'am.
How much did you earn?
I earn $9.50 an hour.
How much did you earn for the week?
It's a full-time job, 40 hours, 40-plus hours a week.
Are you independently wealthy? Do you live off a trust fund?
No.
Then you would know exactly how much your paycheck was a week.
It was between $250 and $300 every week, every Friday.
Good, then you can pay her back this money. Judgment for the plaintiff in the
Miss
amount of
Judy, don't do me
$400.
like
Thank you
that.
very much. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Miss Judy treated me dirty.
I don't want anything to do with this kid.
It was nice while it lasted, but I could understand how something like this would screw it up.
He's addicted to many different things, drugs, I don't know.
Ridiculous.
I've known him in the past. He's had issues.
We're all guilty of experimenting.
In the past, it was cocaine, and now I'm aware that it's Oxycontin.
No, I don't abuse any medications.
I trusted him very much, actually.
I think it's gone.
I'm good on my own. I don't need him at all in my life anymore.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Lewis versus Lindsay. Step forward.
23-year-old Krista Lewis is suing her ex-boyfriend, 24-year-old Ronald Lindsay, for a loan for bail after he was arrested on drug possession charges.
Miss Lewis, the defendant was your boyfriend. It's your claim that you bailed him out of jail. He paid you back the initial $300 deposit that you gave to the bail bondsman. It is your claim that he agreed to make periodic payments to the bail bondsman. He didn't do that. You had signed the bond, and they just entered a judgment against you in the amount of a little over $1,000.
Yes.
Mr. Lindsay says that your agreement with him was that he would pay you back for the $300, and in exchange, you would make the periodic payments to the bail bondsman because you were crazy about him, and you were hoping to get back together with him after a breakup. Why do you think she would be crazy about you? I'm just curious.
She would make numerous calls and...
Why would you think?
Why would I think she'd...
Yeah.
Just from the numerous phone calls she would make and...
I want you to tell me, Mr. Lindsay, what you think you have to offer somebody that they would want to sign your bail and be responsible for it.
Well, I mean, at the time...
Do you have a job?
At the time, yes, I did. I had a very good job.
You had a very good job. What happened
we had a
to
roof
your
over
job?
our head.
What happened to your job when you went to jail?
I was still able to work. I ended up
From
contacting
jail?
my boss. No, not from jail, but I contacted my boss and let him know what was going on. And he
You were
said
violated on probation.
I was put on probation.
Were you violated on probation?
No, I was not violated on probation.
How long did you spend in jail, Mr. Lindsay?
It was only a couple days, Your Honor.
And never went back? It's not an answer, Mr. Lindsay.
Yes, I did go back.
Well, then just answer the question, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I can only think of my granddaughter who's 12. She goes like this to me. But she's got a whole thing. Whatever.
Yeah.
Did I do that right?
Yeah, you did.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Krista Lewis says ex-boyfriend Ronald Lindsay owes for the cost of bail money after he was arrested on drug possession charges.
Mr. Lindsay, how long did you go back to jail?
2 months.
For what, Mr. Lindsay?
For this case, to get the case wrapped up.
I know of no violation of the penal law which says case wrapped up.
Well, not
What were you arrested for? What did she bail you out for?
it was for domestic violence.
Against whom?
A cell phone got broke, and that's why I was arrested.
Against whom?
Against Crystal.
Is that why he was arrested?
No, it wasn't.
Were you still living together when you bailed him out?
No, we weren't. We had been broken up for about a year, almost a year.
Tell me what he was arrested for, Miss Lewis.
When he called me and told me that he was in jail, he said he was arrested for, he got pulled over initially for a light being out in the back of his car, and they grabbed his license, and I believe it was suspended, and he had drug paraphernalia and some other things in his car, and that's why he was arrested.
On what month and year was that, Miss Lewis?
That was January of 2008.
And the last time you and Mr. Lindsay lived together was when?
April of 2007.
Had you ever had him arrested for domestic violence?
Yes, I did.
Okay, that's not what we're talking about now.
Okay.
We're refreshing your recollection a little bit. Drug paraphernalia, January of '08. Where do you come from?
As far as where I live?
Yeah.
I live in Fallbrook, California.
Okay. You were arrested for drug paraphernalia?
I wasn't arrested for drug paraphernalia. I had a person in my vehicle had paraphernalia on them. So that's where all that falls into play as far as...
What was the charge against you in January of '08, sir?
I ended up getting pinned for something that the person had in my car. He did not want to plead to what was his.
What were you arrested for? The charge?
It was paraphernalia.
How was that case resolved, Mr. Lindsay?
I served my time for the...
You pled guilty.
And I served my time for the probation, and it was all dismissed.
You pled guilty. Answer is yes.
Yes.
At some point, you were violated. Or was the 2 months that you spent in jail the sentence, Mr. Lindsay?
No, that was for the DV case.
That was for the domestic violence case that you spent 2 months in jail. That happened in 2007. Had there been a warrant outstanding for your arrest?
Yes, because I didn't complete classes. That's why I went in and did the 2 months to get the classes and everything squared away.
Well, now you got a lot of problems, Mr. Lindsay. Your biggest problem is, why didn't you pay for your own bail?
She offered to pay for it, Your Honor.
No.
I proceeded to call her.
I want to tell you something, Mr. Lindsay. You talk a lot, but you're not George Clooney. And she doesn't look like the kind of lady who would agree to pay $1,069 for somebody that she's not living with, that she's not involved with anymore, who paid her back the down payment. Doesn't strike me as that kind of lady.
Bell is suing Lisa Costa and her fiancé, Joseph Dudenhofer, for unpaid wages and for firing her while on a European vacation.
Order. All rise. Yeah, it's case number 432 on the calendar in the matter of Bell versus Costa Dudenhofer. Parties have been sworn in. You may be seated. Folks, have a seat.
Miss Bell, you were hired as a nanny by the defendants to take care of their 2-year-old little boy while they were vacationing in Europe. You were to accompany them. You left on the 13th of July, and shortly thereafter, it is your claim that you were fired. While in Europe, you want the first week of salary, which was agreed on, it's $400.
Yes, Your Honor.
And you want the cost of changing your airline ticket because you left early.
Yes.
The defendants, they say that you were an awful nanny, that they really had problems trusting you with the child, but that they didn't fire you, that you quit on your own, and if you quit on your own, you absorb the cost of going home, and they're counterclaiming for the cost of getting a new nanny. Really?
Yes, Your Honor.
That's not happening. That's ridiculous.
It wasn't the cost of the new nanny, Your Honor. It was the cost incurred for all the expenses that we spent for the change fees for plane tickets and all the other stuff that we had to fly someone in.
That's ridiculous.
Okay.
What I don't understand in this whole thing is if you have somebody that you claim was inappropriate, and how was she inappropriate?
Several reasons. First, when we first got on the airplane, she couldn't take care of my son whatsoever.
Your Honor.
On our first trip going over from New York to Rome, she wasn't able to take care of my son on the flight, and I had to sit with my son, and she sat with my husband on the plane all the way over to Europe. So that's when it started.
Go ahead.
So I took care of him. Then when we got to Rome, we got into our hotel, checked into our hotel. We had adjoining suites. She took my son down to the butterfly farm so Joe and I could have breakfast in our room and have room service. She went down for a couple hours, came back. My son was completely sunburned. He had a heat stroke and was vomiting. When we went on from Rome I didn't want to leave her alone at all with our son. So then the next day, she went to the Vatican by herself and did not, because I didn't want to leave her with my son. So we went to the villa from there, and she shook my son. The next day, she took off and said she wanted to have Sundays off so she could go to church. She went down to the beach and drank with other people that were at the beach and came home that day and said, I quit. I can't do this job, cried. And then from there, we called her parents. I said, you can't quit. We're not even 1 week into our vacation, and
You can't quit. You just told me all these reasons that she was incapable of caring for your child and placed him at risk. And what do you mean you said to her you can't quit?
Well, because we were there for 5 weeks, and we
Take care of him yourself.
Well,
I mean, what did you have him for?
Well,
Huh?
well, obviously we had to take care of him ourselves.
Just a second. Absolutely. You don't leave your 2-year-old with somebody who you believe, and I'm not making a judgment whether she's incapable or not.
Right.
But what I don't understand that, I mean, she's a kid. You're not. I'm going to get to her in a second and find out what nanny training she had. And I don't want to hear about taking care of your sister.
We hired her, Your Honor, to come over there and to perform duties as a nanny. And
She
was
wasn't a good
incapable.
nanny. That's why when
Yes.
your son gets a little older, you'll put him in nursery school. And if you find that they're not taking care of him in nursery school, or if they're not changing his diaper, or if they're not giving him food, or if he keeps getting sick, or if one of the other children isn't supervised and hurts him, then you'll take him out of that nursery school. And you don't sue the nursery school for the cost of another nursery school, because that's ridiculous. You're the parents. Somebody is not taking care of your child in what you believe is an appropriate manner. You find another caregiver. You don't say, well, we're in Europe now and we're here to have a good time, so we'll let her continue to take care of him. You say, here's your plane ticket, go home.
Well,
it didn't work out.
Right.
Here's your plane ticket, go home. It didn't work out. That's what you do. And then you go about either taking care of your child. How many children do you have?
Just one.
Oh, well, perfect. It's not as if it's cheaper by the dozen. I assume you had one child at your stage in life because you thought you were equipped to take care of one child. Is that right?
That's correct.
Then take care of him.
We provide good care for him.
You
At least
didn't.
we thought we
You
did.
didn't. That's what she says.
Right,
you
well,
weren't providing good care. So if you weren't providing good care, and if you found that the care was inadequate, then what you do is you say, thank you very much. This isn't working out. Here's your plane ticket. Go home.
She had a plane ticket, Your Honor. She had a round-trip first-class airline ticket.
Did she have to pay more to change the date?
Yes, Your Honor. Sorry.
I'm not asking. I'm not on you yet. She had to get home. What was she supposed to do? Stay in Europe until you were ready to leave in a hotel?
No.
What was she supposed to do?
She had her round-trip airfare, her ticket, and then we also paid for her train to the airport and talked with her parents. Her parents wanted her to stay, and then we decided that it wasn't working out the next day. So we gave her a train ticket to
She can't get home from Rome by train.
Right. She had a round-trip ticket, though.
Could she use the round-trip ticket? Is the question. Don't look up over here. When you change a ticket, there's usually a fee involved.
Correct.
That's what I'm saying. What do you think? You're going to outfox me?
No. I'm just saying that I didn't feel I had to pay for it because she quit on us. So.
And I'm telling you, you should have fired her based on what you just told me.
Understood.
And say, I will pay for whatever it costs to get you home.
Well, she told us that she would reimburse us for all the expenses we incurred to bring her over there and put her up, and because she couldn't perform the duties that she said she could do.
Get over it.
I am over it.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
She has 7 years babysitting experience.
Not nanny, babysitting.
She told us she could handle the job as a nanny.
You waited a long time to have this baby?
Yeah.
Waited a long time to have a family? Maybe you should have waited a little further.
And later today,
Tell me when you took the money out of his piggy bank.
I needed some cash. I think I pay child support. It's my money anyway, so I took it.
You're an idiot.
Maybe.
Not maybe. Not maybe.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Babysitter Cynthia Bell says former employers Lisa Costa and Joseph Dudenhofer fired her while she was working for them overseas. The defendants are countersuing for her trip expenses.
Now, how old are you?
I'm 19.
When was the last time you had a full-time job?
Never. I'm a student.
Never?
Yeah.
So you have a 19-year-old who has never held a full-time job. When was the last time you held a part-time job?
Spring 2009. I go to school at Seton Hall University.
Just tell me what you did.
Oh, I was work-study. It was so I worked at Seton Hall University in the history department, part-time.
I'm not counting that. Tell me when you had a real job.
Okay, well, before I went to college, I worked at Starbucks.
All part of a resume that doesn't suggest to me any history in childcare. Being a barista, is that what they call it at Starbucks?
Yes.
Is that good? Being a barista at Starbucks doesn't prepare her to take care of your child.
Right.
Work-study at Seton Hall University doesn't prepare her to take care of your 2-year-old. The only thing is, she's a warm body. And maybe she has some cousins that she takes care of. Period.
Your Honor. Sorry.
Did you take a course in being a nanny?
No, ma'am.
No. And you never were a full-time nanny before?
No, ma'am.
She had no experience whatsoever.
And she misrepresented herself because she created a flyer that says that she has all of that and 7 years experience.
As a babysitter?
As a babysitter, Your Honor.
I'm sure she babysat.
On my flyer, it says that I'm looking for, if anyone's looking for a babysitter this summer.
Can I see it?
I have an
Is it the same flyer that you
I have an 8-year-old sister, so that's who I babysit.
I don't care whether you babysat for your sister. I told you, I'm not interested in your sister. She has 7 years babysitting experience.
Not nanny, babysitting.
Babysitting.
She told us she could handle the job as a nanny.
You waited a long time to have this baby?
Yeah.
Waited a long time to have a family? Maybe you should have waited a little further. I mean, are you not understanding what I'm saying to you?
No, we understand.
Are you understanding what I'm saying to you?
Yes.
Yeah.
If somebody isn't taking care of your child appropriately and she has absolutely no training to take care of your child independent of you, you took a chance, it didn't work out. Now, did you try to turn in your first-class ticket for a coach ticket on the way home? Is not an answer.
No, yes.
Well, then you should have.
Yes, no, I did. I flew coach back, I'm sorry.
Okay.
My dad was the one who was doing it on the other line because I didn't have internet access.
Fine. Now, when you flew back coach, what did you do with your first-class return flight ticket?
All I know is that my dad paid for the change ticket, and what happened was because they were conversing on the phone.
Just a second.
Oh.
Mr. Bell.
Yes.
She had a round-trip first-class ticket.
Yes.
What happened with her return ticket?
I called on the phone to Continental Airlines, and we went through the program about what it was going to take the first-class ticket departing from Barcelona 4 weeks hence to a coach ticket leaving tomorrow from Rome. And it was $1,000. And so I paid the $1,000, and her ticket was waiting for her at the counter.
Fine. How many days were you in Europe?
I started on Tuesday, July 14th, and I left on Thursday, July 23rd, but I physically left them on the 22nd of July.
Okay. So they owe you for a week. Did they pay you?
No.
Okay. So they owe you $1,000 for the ticket and $400 for 1 week. $1,400. That's what they owe you. Didn't work out. That's what you owe her. And your counterclaims for the new nanny and the new nanny's expenses is dismissed. And I suggest you be more careful next time.
Your Honor, may I speak on their behalf?
No. Goodbye.
Please excuse. You may step out.
I think it's fair.
It was a blatant lie. They fired me, and obviously when they said it was fair, they believed it because they knew they were wrong and they were lying.
Well, it is what it is, and the fruit doesn't fall that far from the tree.
They're lousy parents, and I feel sorry for their son.
You just got to be really careful of who you pick.
These people are crazy.
Next time we'll be a lot more safe.
I'm young and I'm going to learn. I'm going to live. It's no big deal.
And now the next case.
All parties in the matter of Smith versus Allgaier. Step forward, please.
Amber Smith is suing her ex-husband, Austin Allgaier, for a cell phone bill, damaging property, and for stealing money from their son's piggy bank.
Miss Smith, this used to be your husband, and you have a child together, a boy.
We do.
It is your claim that subsequent to the divorce, he owes you some money. He owes you some money for a cell phone bill. He owes you some money because he took money out of your son's piggy bank, and he stepped on your present fiance's.
Our family's PS3 controller.
There are a couple of things that I will probably agree with you on. Pronounce your last name for me.
Allgaier.
Mr. Allgaier. One of them is probably the cell phone bill, although I'll hear a little bit of that. But I really, really have a problem with the piggy bank, sir.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What do you put it on the floor for? That makes sense to you, Bird? Take it and put it on the floor?
That's what I said. Why would it be on the floor? I mean,
not speaking to you. You're an idiot. I don't speak to idiots.
Yeah,
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Amber Smith says ex-husband Austin Allgaier owes for a cell phone bill, purposely damaging her property, and for stealing money from their son's piggy bank.
Okay, let's start with the cell phone bill. You were divorced in what month and year?
We were divorced in March of 2009.
Good. And when did you have this cell phone plan?
We opened the cell phone plan in the summer of 2004, Your Honor.
So in March of 2009, the same plan existed in 2004.
Correct, although 2 lines had been added to it, one for our son and one for my fiance.
Now, in March of 2009, did you have attorneys representing you in the divorce?
I did, Your Honor.
Then the attorney would have said to you, any and all debt, any and all things that exist today are going to be resolved. After this, we start fresh.
Correct, Your Honor.
So you explain to me why you think that the cell phone bill that you allowed him to maintain on your plan shouldn't be covered by that judgment of divorce, which should have resolved all financial issues between you as of March 2009.
First of all, the cell phone bill, we were under a contractual obligation with the cell phone company.
Who's we?
For a certain amount. Well, I was under.
Right, well, that's a debt.
Yeah.
Debts are listed in your judgment of divorce. And the judge at the time of the judgment of divorce would have fixed a responsibility for that cell phone and said, listen, I'm going to take the $200 disconnect fee for your line and give her credit for that because she's going to ultimately be responsible for it, and I would have disconnected him. Do you understand?
I understand completely, Your Honor. The cell phone line was only left open as a means for the defendant to contact our son.
That's your choice.
We had a verbal agreement after the divorce that he would continue to pay. He paid pretty much regularly until August of 2009, around the time that I had a new baby, and then the payments stopped coming.
So you should have taken him off the cell phone plan.
To take him off the cell phone plan would have been another $200.
Right, and then you would have been finished. Listen to me.
Okay.
How much did it cost you to take him off the plan?
It would cost me...
Not would cost. How much did it cost you?
I've not paid yet to take him off the plan.
Then you're a little premature. All right, now, that's what I thought. Take him off. If it costs you $200, it costs you $200, or it might cost you nothing. When is your plan up? You started in 2004. It's 2009. I mean, is this cradle-to-grave coverage?
Well, we kept renewing his line. We kept renewing his line. He was...
Well, you shouldn't have renewed it.
The only reason I renewed it, Your Honor, was to keep an open line between...
I don't care.
Okay.
That's between you, him, and your
wanted
child.
The child to have a way to...
And if you wanted it, then you pay for it. Perfect. Piggy bank. Your son had a piggy bank with money in it. How old is your son?
He's 7.
Tell me when you took the money out of his piggy bank.
I don't remember what day it was. I needed some cash. I figured I paid child support. It's my money anyway, so I took it.
You're an idiot.
Maybe.
Not maybe. Not maybe.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. Are you in a family dispute? Go to JudgeJudy.com or call 1-888-800-JUDY.
Now, how much did you take out of the piggy bank?
I don't know. It's like $50 or something like that.
$50 at least in cash, Your Honor.
Okay. Now you want to tell me about this remote that he stepped on?
He came Christmas Eve, and we discussed the money about the cell phone bill. And he became aggravated and irate, and my fiance, Josh, not happy at the way he was speaking to me, stepped out to avoid confrontation. He set our PS3 controller down on the floor, and...
What'd you put it on the floor for? What'd you put it on the floor for, Josh?
Your Honor, I wanted to remove myself as quickly from the situation as possible.
You mean there's
so
no furniture in the room?
We have a couch, that's it.
Couch. So why don't you put it on the couch? What do you put it on the floor for? That makes sense to you, Bird? Take it and put it on the floor?
That's what I say. Why would it be on the floor? I mean,
not speaking to you. You're an idiot. I don't speak to idiots. Why would you, if you're leaving the premises, first of all, it's very chivalrous of you. He's screaming and cursing at your fiancé, and you decide to take it outside. But why would you take that and put it on the floor?
It's just the quickest place to put it down, to get out of the way before I got involved. And
okay, fine. Now sit. Go ahead. Keep going. So
he walked over to where the cell phone controller was, and he stomped on it.
No way.
He stomped
No,
on it.
you didn't. No, he didn't. He may have stepped on it, but he didn't stomp on it.
Well, he stepped on it.
He stepped on it.
Yes, he
Shouldn't have
did.
been on the floor.
Thank you. See, told you, clean up your
But
house.
it was
Just a
purpose.
second. Do you take drugs, sir?
No.
Do you take pills?
No.
So my question is, why would someone who looks relatively normal, put himself in a position where he looks like a fool in front of a whole bunch of people? Why? I mean, I don't understand why.
Makes
Do
no
you
difference
work?
to me.
What?
No, I'm unemployed right now. I do odd jobs here and there, but...
Who do you live with?
I live with my mom right now.
Got it. You owe her $50. Judgment for the plaintiff, that's all.
Your Honor,
That's it. That's it.
There is another incident, though, involving the door.
That's it.
Your Honor, this is case number 374 on the calendar in the matter of Fuller versus Lewanig. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may have a seat.
Miss Fuller, you're suing the defendant because you allege that he owes you money for the year that his daughter lived with you.
That's correct.
Now, this was sort of an interesting story. You took her into your home without his permission, is that correct?
Yes.
Well, why don't you tell me how that came about?
She wanted to finish her last year of high school down here to play basketball.
Where is down here?
She was at Paramount at the time, but I live in Dominguez District. She ran away before her father moved to Victorville with her friend. Her father went over there, caused a big scene, had the police involved.
Because his daughter ran away?
Yes. Rashika called her mother in Arkansas and had...
Sir, you and your daughter's mother are divorced, is that right?
We were divorced, ma'am. That's right.
And your daughter was living with you?
She let me keep her for the meantime. She wants to
She
go
was,
down.
in fact, at the time that we're talking about, living with you when she
Living
ran
with
away.
me. Yes, ma'am.
Which is the daughter? That's you.
Rashika.
Now, how did you get involved with her?
Through basketball. I met Rashika when she was playing basketball with my daughter. I was the team mother for Paramount's basketball team. They didn't have a lot of support, and I went to all the girls' games. I took the
So that's how you got involved with her?
Yes.
So now we're up to a point where she ran away from her father's house.
Yes.
And somehow contacted you.
Yes.
And you said you can come and live with me.
I talked to her mother in Arkansas.
You didn't speak to her father?
No.
You called her mother?
Rashika called her mother.
Rashika called her mother, with whom she wasn't living at the time?
No.
And her mother gave you permission for her to live in your house?
I have the notarized. She came the next day. I have the authorization.
Okay. And she signed papers, her mother signed papers for her to live in your house?
Yes, and then we went to court, and the court gave me temporary guardianship.
Okay. With her mother's permission?
Yes.
But according to your papers, not with her father's permission?
No.
Father was not happy about this. Is that right, sir?
That's true.
He said he didn't know where she was.
So how long did she stay with you?
From June the 17th, 1996 until June the 22nd, 1997.
Now, according to your papers, she played you like a violin.
Yes, she did.
You didn't know that at the time.
No. I looked at that beautiful face, Your Honor, and I believed everything she told me.
Now, you believed everything, all the bad things she told you about her father, that he didn't understand her, that he was verbally abusive to her. You believed all that?
When I first met Rashika, I could see that she was unhappy. She was crying a lot. I could tell she was an unhappy child.
So, Miss Fuller, my question to you is, you interfered with a family situation. Because when she finally left your home,
yes,
she went back to her father, right?
Yes. After she graduated from high school, she went to college.
But she went back to her father.
Yes, he gave her a car and offered her money, and she left.
Whatever, she went back to her father.
Yes.
So this was a teenager in rebellion. She left her mother's house, right, to go to live with her father? Is that right, sir?
Yes, ma'am. That's true.
How long have you been divorced from her mother?
Oh, about 15 years.
And how long had she lived with her mother?
14.
And how many years did she live with you?
about a year and a half until she met Miss Fuller.
Yes.
Rashika's mom told me that she was financially unable to care for Rashika and her sister Renisha. That's when she sent them out here. This is what her mom said.
Doesn't sound right to me. You don't send two children to their father after they've been living with you for 15 years or for 14 years because you're financially unable to take care of them.
She said she had had an accident and was hurt and wasn't able to take care
Well,
of them.
when you met her, when she came to sign the guardianship papers,
yes.
Did she appear to be injured to you?
Maybe.
What does maybe mean?
She seemed to, like she had a head injury, maybe.
She didn't have a head injury that prevented her from signing these guardianship papers.
No.
Or from understanding that she was turning over legal custody to you of her daughter.
She told me she was unable to care for her. Her father was abusive.
All right. I assume you have at least one teenage daughter?
Yes.
Just so you know that teenage daughters can be difficult sometimes? Or yours aren't difficult?
My youngest one wasn't.
And what about the older one?
Well, they did good. All my children graduated from high school.
I didn't
never really had any problems with them.
Well, then you should be written up in Guinness Book of Records because most
I was
women,
very lucky.
most mothers who have teenage daughters know that they're a little difficult at times.
I was very lucky.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
At the time, I felt he didn't understand, but now that I see it, and I'm, in college, and I see my sister going through, getting disciplined, I understand she needs it.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Doris Fuller wants Ray Lewanig to pay her for taking care of his daughter, Roshika. Ray says she took his daughter without his permission.
Now, I want to know why you think that this man ought to pay you anything.
Well, for child support, when the courts gave me temporary custody of Rashika, the judge sent us, Ray and Rashika and I, to go talk. We went to the IHOP in Compton. He offered me $400 a month child support. I said that was fine. Rashika and her dad left. When she came back, I asked her for the check. She was hesitant to give it to me.
What month was this?
In May.
That was a month before she left?
Yes.
Well, why are you suing for $4,200 if I believe you, that you say he agreed to pay you $400 a month and then his daughter went back to him within a month? Why should I give you $4,200?
I had her for a year.
Right.
And when she came to play basketball...
I'm not interested in anything else. What I'm really concerned about is you took this child without her father's permission. You discussed the matter with her mother, not her father. Her mother gave you guardianship. You made no attempt, according to what you've told me, to get some child support from her mother, who was the one...
She sent me $75.
She sent you $75. You're suing him for almost $5,000. She was the one who gave you permission to take her daughter without his consent. He didn't even know where she was. Is that right, sir?
That's very true, ma'am.
Were you collecting welfare for her?
No.
Who was covering her medical insurance?
Her father paid her medical insurance. The one time I took her to the doctor, they gave me a $5 payment and I paid that.
So she wasn't on anybody's welfare budget?
No.
Okay, sir. How much money did you give her in total to take care of your daughter after you knew where she was?
Well, I tried to negotiate with her because I saw my daughter in good, condition.
When was that? What month was that?
In May, right after the court hearing. We went to IHOP and I offered, look, I can only give you $200 a month in front of her because as far as I know, she was with her mom.
You mean before that you thought she had been with her mother?
Uh-huh.
And then you went to court.
I went to court.
This was in May of '97.
Yes, ma'am, May of '97.
And in May of '97, you went to IHOP and had this discussion about support. And how much money did you give her in May?
I didn't give her anything. I offered her $200. And
right.
I thought she agreed, so I went to the bank with her, gave her the $200.
Did you give?
I explained it to her. I cannot afford $400 because I just moved out. I got 2 young kids now of my own from my new marriage. And she's not in my budget because I know she's gone.
Okay.
Gone back to her mom.
Step up here. You're the daughter.
Yes, ma'am.
Why did you go back to your father's house?
After we had in court, we all went out to breakfast and we cried. Sorry.
It's okay. You were ready to go home?
Yeah.
Hmm?
I had seen my little sister and my little brother, and I wanted to, and my father, we talked things out, and I wanted a relationship with him again.
You think that part of the problems that you were having with your dad that caused you to leave were at least in part your fault?
When I was with my mom, I never got disciplined. So when he disciplined me, I rebelled.
When you say he disciplined you?
Grounded me.
Grounded you?
Took my car away.
And your mom never did those things?
No.
That wasn't wrong of him to do, right?
No. Well, at the time, I felt...
You thought it was?
He was just all against me, and he didn't understand, you know, and... But now that I see it, and I'm, you know, in college, and I see my sister going through, getting disciplined, I understand she needs it.
Miss Fuller, let me tell you what you did, madam. You interfered in a family situation. You had no business interfering with this family situation. Took it upon yourself to take this man's daughter, who was living with him, and he seems like a perfectly reasonable, responsible man, and according to his daughter, did absolutely nothing but discipline him in reasonable ways. Grounded her, took away her car, and she wasn't used to it because her mother never did any of those things. Now, the fact that she, to you, was upset and crying and seemed unhappy with her father, that's not a reason for you to interfere in a family situation. I mean, if you took some time and if you let the situation take some time, there is a possibility that father and daughter could have worked things out. But instead, you hopped in there.
Your Honor?
Yes.
When Rashika called me, she told me her father did not have custody of her. Her mother had custody of her.
Miss Fuller, you knew she was living with her father?
Yes. We went to go get Rashika. Her mother and I went to go get Rashika. We took the Southgate police with us because Rashika and her mother said they were afraid for us to go there by themselves because he's a violent man and he had a lot of guns in the home.
Well, listen to me.
We took the Southgate police with us.
Listen to me. That was all a lot of baloney. She's back with her father. So whatever stories you got from either Rashika or her mother were not true, because if they were, and if she was genuinely fearful of her father because he has a violent temper and because he has guns in the house, she would not be living with him now.
Judge Judy is ready to rule. And later today...
So you gotta learn to get your story straight. Before you gave me some baloney story about you said, yes, he was gonna pay her back, but then your check was all messed up and you couldn't pay her back. Come on, get it together.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Doris Fuller wants Ray Lewanig to pay her for taking care of his daughter, Roshika. Ray says she took his daughter without his permission.
You butted in, and if you butted in, you gotta pay. So your lawsuit against this man is dismissed. And I suggest to you that before you take in any other teenagers and take them away from their custodial parents, and he was at that time a custodial parent, you better make darn sure that there is a good and valid reason. And that sometimes means leaving it up to professionals and stepping back. You're a biological stranger from this family. He didn't give his consent. He had absolutely no reason to have his child removed from his custody, other than the fact that, according to her, and I believe her, he disciplined her by grounding her when she did something wrong and by taking her car away. He's her father. He has an absolute right to do that. So Your lawsuit against him is dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
She took it upon herself. I told her again and again, this is blood related. You're nobody.
You hadn't seen her
I'm
for
the father.
11 months, Ray.
Of course I never saw her because you
didn't-
hid her from me.
No, I didn't.
And now the next case.
Parties on Sanders versus Murray. Step forward, please.
23-year-old Heather Sanders wants her former good friend, 25-year-old Jennifer Murray, to pay her back for the repairs on her car.
You two were good friends?
Yes.
How long had you been friends?
For about 2 years, 2.5 years.
And Miss Murray, you had an accident with your car?
Yes.
What kind of an accident did you have?
A repair problem. The car broke down and it needed some repairs.
So you asked the plaintiff if she would put it on her credit card.
Well, actually, I told her that the car broke down and she said that she could help me out, and then I agreed.
Doesn't sound 100% logical, but let's take it from there. So she put it on her credit card, the repairs,
Yes.
$627, something like that?
About, $646.
And what was the arrangement as far as paying back this money?
The arrangement was that she was going to pay me half within 2 weeks after the day that it was charged, and then the balance within another 2 weeks, so altogether within a month.
What happened?
I never got any of the money back. Well, I got $100. What happened was a month went by, and she said, well, I have over half of the money, and I'll give you over the half on Wednesday, October the 1st. So I went to her house that day to pick up the money, and she gave me a $100 bill, and she said, well, I don't have any more of the money, and I will pay you back when I can. Stop calling me, stop bugging me. And basically, that was it.
Go ahead.
That's pretty much what happened. She said that I told her that I would pay her back all the money, and I made arrangements to pay her back a couple of weeks when I got paid. But something happened with my check where I didn't get paid right away like I was supposed to, and I told her that they messed my money up or something. And she said that didn't matter. She wanted her money right then and there. I said, well, my job messed up my check. I don't have it, so I'm going to have to wait another 2 weeks until I get paid.
So why didn't you give it to her after another 2 weeks?
That's when I gave her the $100. I gave her what I could. I didn't have the full amount right away.
Well, what was your arrangement with her?
To originally pay her back after a couple of weeks, but when...
That's not what you said in your answer. Did you forget what you wrote in your answer?
No, she said pay her back whatever I can, but whatever I can, just as long as I pay her back the money.
You know, you keep changing your story, Miss Murray. But bottom line is, you owe her the rest of the money. Total bill was what? $676.14. Is that the bill?
Yes.
Is that the bill?
Yes.
All right. Judge Judy is ready to rule.
I'm just going to remind you, Miss Murray, that you swore in your answer that the agreement was that you put it on the credit card and you would repay back small amounts, small payments, just as long as the statement was covered for the month. And that the reason you didn't pay her back all the money is because then she said she wanted it all back at one time. So you got to learn to get your story straight.
That is what happened.
Well,
But
you
the
didn't tell
very-
me that before. Before you gave me some baloney story about you said, yes, she was going to pay her back, but then your check was all messed up and you couldn't pay her back. Come on, get it together. Okay. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $576.14. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Your Honor, this is case number 425 on the calendar in the matter of Cunningham versus Curley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have
All
seats,
right,
please.
there look like a lot of people here, so let me see, based upon these papers that I have, whether I can figure out the cast that I have before me. You must be Mr. and Mrs. Cunningham.
Yes.
And these are your two sons.
Yes.
Correct.
And they have a white blazer.
Chris does.
Yes.
That's you. And you, sir, are Mr. Curley.
Yes, ma'am.
And you and your family,
Yes, ma'am.
live in a nice, quiet neighborhood, nice, quiet cul-de-sac in that neighborhood, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And you say that there is this white Blazer that speeds into your cul-de-sac, driving erratically.
Consecutively. I have a statement from...
Is that right so far?
Yes, ma'am.
You allege, I assume you weren't there.
Right.
Chris was there.
Yes.
Little brother was there.
Yes.
That this gentleman assaulted the younger of your children.
Yes.
You weren't there.
No.
Correct?
Correct.
So why don't you exchange places with your children?
Thank you.
Who was doing the driving?
I was.
And when did this happen?
This summer sometime. I don't remember the date.
February.
It was February 23rd. Okay.
Well, that's close to the summer, February
Yeah.
23rd. Why don't you tell me what happened on this summer day in February?
Well, my friend had been sick for a while, and I was going down to see him. And we got there, and he wasn't there. So me and my brother were going back home down the road, and Mr. Curley over here came walking down his driveway pointing at my truck. So I came to a stop, and he started yelling at me, cussing at me, challenged me to fight. Told him I didn't want to fight him, you know, just leave me alone. He got in front of my truck, wouldn't let me leave, so I got out. We argued some more. He wanted to fight. I didn't want to fight. I told him to grow up. I put my hands up like this, walked back over to my truck, got in. He walked over to the passenger side, continued to challenge me, want to fight me, call me names, curse at me. I started to drive away, and as I pulled off, I heard a loud thud noise. And I looked to my right, and my brother was bent over holding his face, and I said, "Did he hit you?" And he said, "Yes." So I got out, I walked up to him, and I was angry at this point, and I yelled at him, and I said, "Did you hit my brother?" And he said, "Yes, I hit your effing little brother." And at this point, he pushed me, and then a neighbor intervened and grabbed me and took me back to my truck, and then I left.
Now you tell me what happened.
Just like my brother said, we were
could you look over here, please?
Just like my brother said, we were driving to his friend's house. We realized he wasn't there, so we were driving back home, and we noticed that Curly was pointing at my brother's truck, and my brother stopped because he figured there was a problem with his truck or something. And Curly came up to the passenger window, cursing at my brother, saying that he was going to rip his head off. Then he came to the front of the truck, and my brother got out of the truck, and they were arguing some more. And my brother, like you said, just told him to grow up, and got back in the truck. And he came back to the passenger window, started cussing some more. I said nothing to him. I didn't even look at him. He just hit me, blindsided me. I didn't even expect it at all.
And you were injured.
How was I injured?
And you were injured.
Oh, yes, I was injured.
Tell me about your injury.
He hit me so hard that my head was snapped back, and I couldn't play basketball for a week. We had a tournament that week, and I could not play. I could not do PE for a week because of my neck injuries. I had a mark on my nose, and my cheek was swelled. I missed a day of school to get x-rays on my neck, and that's about it.
And I assume, Mrs. Cunningham, that in your folder you have the medical reports?
Yes.
Okay. I would like you to turn them over to my bailiff, please. All right, Mr. Curley. Now I'm going to hear your version of these events, sir.
Okay. Pretty much everything he said was true up to the point where the confrontation started and he was saying grow up. We've had excessive speed up and down this street. Besides him, all of his friends, but he was the main one.
Don't tell me his friends.
Okay,
Just
he
tell
was
me
the
him.
main problem. He's got a boombox in his system. He was in his car, which is fine. But constantly, the windows are up, blasting music up and down, speeding up and down the streets. My son and all his friends ride up and down the street on their bikes and stuff. The reason I had gotten so tired of it is because he had come around the corner one time and almost hit my son and his friend out there on the street because he just excessive speed coming around the corner. It's a couple times, excuse me, several times. But because it's a misdemeanor, they said that the only way they could do anything is times. But because it's a misdemeanor, they said that the only way they could do anything is if it was happened in their presence. The only thing they could do.
Just a second. Would you tell him to take his hands out?
Yes, Judge. Remove your hands from your pockets, please.
Well, the day that this all happened, he came flying up the street just like usual. My dad and everybody had told him to slow down. So all it is, with the gestures toward the adults around there, is flipping him off as he drives by. And I have statements in here proving.
So tell me what you did. He came flying around the corner, and what happened?
I came outside, and I did. I stopped him. I stopped the vehicle. I told him, slow it down. I said, there's kids in here. I said, all it takes is just a little bit of not paying attention, and you kill one of these kids, and then you're going to seriously pay the consequences. I did say that. Now, whether that was taken as a threat or not, that's fine. But when it comes down to my child being in danger,
It's not a threat.
Then that's the way it's going to happen.
It's not a threat. So far, you were very reserved. What happened next?
We got into a verbal confrontation. He steps out of his car. He said a few expletives. Get back in the house, old man. Because I hadn't shaven in a while. I was all scraggly. I was relaxing. I didn't, it was a verbal confrontation.
Okay.
I didn't, I didn't pull any punches.
You were mad.
I was verbal on my own because I was tired of having to worry about my son going outside, having him stay up on the sidewalk or up in our driveway because of these kids flying up and down the street.
Now tell me about hitting the car, sir.
I struck the car. As he drove off, I hit the side of the car.
Which side of the car, sir?
The passenger side. I struck the passenger side as they drove off.
But according to you, while you struck the passenger side of the car, you didn't strike him.
No, I didn't touch him.
Mm-hmm.
That would make me impossible losing my license.
Well, so striking the car.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
The only difference is with a gun, you can usually only kill one person if you make a mistake, right? With a car, you can plow down 4 of his friends.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 17-year-old Christopher Cunningham and his brother, 14-year-old Stephen, say Scott Curley assaulted Stephen. Scott says he wants them to stop speeding through his neighborhood.
Who else has witnessed this white Blazer driving up and down? Let's start with you.
Well,
come on up here. Tell me your name.
Corey Curley.
Corey, how old are you?
9.
You know what it means to tell the truth?
Don't lie.
Do you know why it's more important to tell the truth in court than anywhere else?
Yeah, because you can go to jail for lying.
I think you're a pretty smart kid. So why don't you tell me what happened with this white Blazer?
Well, Big Chris, when he was coming up and down the street, and when I got home, which my grandma let me go out and play with my friend Cody so we can play a little game of baseball with a little, like a McDonald's ball that they have at McDonald's. Well, we went out there and played some baseball, and then Big Chris came around the corner.
That's this young man here?
My
That's Big Chris?
plate.
Shh. Big Chris is on the license plate of the car?
Yes.
So Big Chris came around the corner.
Yeah. And when he came around the corner, I told Cody to watch out because he was hit. It was his turn to hit, and I was pitching. And there were some other kids, and we didn't hear them say, watch out, and they were all, so we didn't know. But I said, Cody, watch out, and he just came around the corner.
Well, was he coming around the corner fast or slowly?
Well, he came around the corner fast, and he started to speed up a little bit.
How many times have you seen this car on your street?
I've seen it bunches of times.
You have a boyfriend or a girlfriend on that street?
It's one of my best friends. It's a guy, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Have you been asked to slow down before on that street?
I never was confronted by anybody.
You have not?
I have not ever been confronted by anybody. The
No.
first time I was confronted is when he hit my little brother.
So you're telling me, Big Chris, that there's nothing wrong with the way you drive down that street?
No, I'm not saying that at all.
Well, then what are you saying? I'd like to hear how you drive down these people's street.
Yeah, I may have sped a little bit, yeah. I could have.
Uh-huh. And when you're speeding down this street, you're also blasting your boombox?
I don't know about blasting it, but I have my stereo on, yeah.
Loud?
Pretty loud.
Uh-huh.
Not anymore, though.
How old are you?
17.
How long have you been driving?
A year.
Mm-hmm. Did you ever dock him from driving his car?
His driving, any problems whatsoever with his driving was never brought to my attention.
I know, okay.
So I had no way of knowing there was a problem on this street until my son was attacked that day.
Miss Cunningham, you can understand the frustration because you don't have to be a genius to figure out what's going on here. You don't have to be a genius to figure that out.
Right, I've driven down the street myself.
Okay. So you can understand why the people who live on that street have become frustrated with not only your son, but with other people. They have not been able to enjoy their property and let their children play out safely on their property because your 17-year-old son is acting like a moron. Right?
Well, I think he was acting like a normal 16-year-old driver. And I think the person who was not acting like a normal person was Mr. Curley. I have a police report with a witness statement.
You have a what?
A police report from the day of the incident.
Well, I'll see a police report, but I don't take witnesses' statements unless the witnesses are here.
The witness statement is in the police report.
And I'm not interested in it. I'm prepared to hear witnesses here. And Mr. Curley, I'm prepared to tell you that after I examine these hospital records, I probably am prepared to tell you, sir, that when you went to hit the truck, your hand probably slipped.
It hit the back of the truck, ma'am. That's what the Highway Patrol was told too. I would like to say that every person on our block, except for one family, signed this, stating the fact that he has been driving recklessly, dangerously around the children. This is every family
Just a
on the
second.
block.
Did you send it to the parents?
Yes, it was.
A month after
a
the
month after.
incident.
A month after.
1 month
So
after.
are you telling me,
later.
sir, that after this incident, that it continued?
Yes.
No.
Are you telling me that after this incident it continued?
Yes. I've got the statement right here.
No, I can't. I'm not going to see a statement. I'm going to listen to your son.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I think it was kind of unfair to be called an idiot just because I made a mistake and I realized that, and I have calmed down a lot since that incident.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. The Cunninghams are suing Scott Curley for assaulting their 14-year-old son, Stephen.
After this incident, did you see Big Chris back on the block? Well, you don't remember. You can tell me I don't remember.
I don't remember.
Okay. I just want to take a look at the police report for the date, please. So would you get that from her?
I also have a criminal case docket record stating that he was arrested for this, spent 2 days in jail. He's on probation for 3 years.
No, ma'am.
Ordered to stay away from my son.
Let me say it.
I served no time in jail.
Well, that's what this report
Curley,
says.
just want to read it.
Also, he mentioned that this happened when his son came home from school. It was a Sunday that it happened.
Sir, you pled guilty, is that correct, on this
Yes,
assault charge?
no contest, yes, ma'am.
Yeah.
I didn't have time to go through court.
Well, Mr. Curley, plea of no contest is plea of guilty.
Mhm.
Your attorney, I'm sure, explained that to you. It's no different from if you were tried and found guilty by a jury. Do you understand that?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
And that was explained to you. Now, I do have a problem, however, Mrs. Cunningham, with something that you said to me. I don't think that you can excuse a 16 or 17-year-old who's driving recklessly by saying he's just behaving like a normal teenager.
That's outrageous.
No,
That suggests to me, madam, that all of our little children out there who are playing peacefully in their homes and their streets, well, they have to watch out for these normal teenagers who are acting like fools behind the wheel of a big sport truck.
The instant I found out about the problem, we resolved that problem.
How did you resolve it?
I taught him in his driver's training when I drove with him that he should be doing nothing but rolling down a residential area, ready to brake.
Well, I'll tell you what I would have done with him if he was my child.
I told him that he should not be blasting his stereo, turning it up loudly in any way that annoys our neighbors.
You're absolutely right. That's a good thing to tell him.
That's how I resolved
That's
the
a good
problem
thing to tell him.
when it was brought to my attention.
Let me tell you something. If he were my child, he wouldn't drive a car again till he was 18 years old.
The police were called and we
Now listen to me. I don't care whether the police were called. You know, what you're saying to me is, I told him that if he was going to have a gun, that he had to make sure that he kept it secure at all times, that he kept the safety lock on it at all times, because it could be very dangerous if it were not handled properly. And then you turn this gun over to a 16-year-old idiot, right? That's what a car is. It's no different from a gun. The only difference is with a gun, you can usually only kill one person if you make a mistake, right? With a car, you can plow down 4 of his friends, right?
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
What were your out-of-pocket medical expenses?
$10.
Mm-hmm. Now, Mr. Curley.
Yes, ma'am.
Pled guilty to this assault. This young man was injured. That's not something that you can do, sir. You were frustrated, you were angry, but you cannot, under any circumstances, behave in this kind of a fashion. That's, first of all, it's a very poor thing for your children to witness.
Oh, I totally agree.
Okay. So you're going to have to pay the price for that. Now, the Cunninghams are suing for about... How old are you, by the way?
14.
You don't drive, do you?
No.
See, the problem is, because he wasn't doing anything.
I agree. That's why he didn't get hit.
Okay. He wasn't doing anything. He was a passenger. He may have been a foolish passenger, but he was a passenger. He's suing for $5,000. And I'm going to give you $2,500 plus $10 for your medical costs. You suffered injury because of 2 people. Because of Mr. Curley, and because of your dumb brother. You got it?
Yes.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Paperwork, ma'am. Uh-huh.
Judge Judy continues in a moment. And on the next Judge Judy.
It's case number 436 on the calendar in the matter of Melnick versus Sperry. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
Mrs. Melnick, this is your former daughter-in-law, is that correct?
Correct.
And what you're suing her for is for the return of some appliances that you say are yours.
Yes, Your Honor.
And are in her possession.
Yes, Your Honor.
How long were you married to, you're the son?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Tim.
this is my son.
Your last name?
Mangan.
Sit down. How long were you married to him?
7 years.
And you have 2 children?
3.
3 children. So, Miss Melnick, you want to tell me why you think these appliances are worth suing your former daughter-in-law for?
Well, when they wanted to buy my home, which was worth $51,500, they tried to assume the mortgage, and they couldn't. And I have the original agreement. None of my appliances went with the home. Melinda sent a letter on November 10th.
Okay, so let's start.
Okay.
When they were married, they wanted to purchase your home.
Right.
Right?
Melinda did.
Not your son?
No. She did.
Okay. And the appliances did not go with the house?
No, they did not.
Okay, but you left them in the house?
Yes.
And what was the arrangement?
That my son will tell you.
No, you tell me. You're
okay,
the
with that, I let him use them until they would purchase their own or whatever they needed to do if they wanted to purchase appliances. That's the way it went.
No, we had another house, and we bought her house because she couldn't afford it anymore. She, for some reason, won't work. And her other son moved into our second home, and she cried that he doesn't have any appliances and this and that. We left our appliances over at that house for him, and she says that we could have her appliances so he could have appliances.
Okay, because I didn't quite understand that. You turned over your old house to the plaintiff's other son.
Yeah, he's renting it from my ex-husband.
Okay, and that other house was in his name? Your former husband's name?
Yes.
And you left all of your appliances there?
Yes.
So when you moved into your mother-in-law's house, you had her appliances? Fine. Then there came a time when you were supposed to exchange these appliances. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, that's right.
And you say you returned a refrigerator first?
Yes, I had hired movers to return these things.
How old is
Melinda
your...
has been, she beat me up 1994.
I have the
She
restraining
beat me up. I have...
Miss Melnick.
She's caused nothing but trouble with the family.
Miss Melnick, I read the papers. She has a restraining order against you, is that right?
That's correct.
Now, so your other son was living in the house and you ordered a mover to take over the refrigerator from the old house to her house. Did you look at the refrigerator first?
No, I was not allowed to go near any of that area.
I didn't ask you whether you looked at it in her house. I asked you whether you looked at it in your son's house.
No, Your Honor.
Well, she says that that refrigerator was delivered in deplorable condition. It was filthy, it had mold in it, and it had dead fly in it, and she refused to accept it. Why are you raising your hand? Did you see the refrigerator?
Yes, Your Honor.
At your brother's house?
Yes, Your Honor.
Well, step up here.
Thank you. Prior to the furniture to be delivered, I also cleaned the refrigerator and everything else, and then Melinda refused it, and it returned back to my brother's house. They recleaned it again.
Well, why did they have to reclean it, sir?
Supposedly...
Not supposedly. Why, if it was recleaned, it was cleaned for a reason. Why was it recleaned?
Because she wouldn't accept it.
No, it was recleaned because it had mold on it.
Well, she stated that it had a fly in it, Your Honor.
If it had a fly in it, sir, you take a little tissue,
Right.
pick up the fly, and you throw it away.
I did not see any mold on it or anything. I did clean it the first time, and then I made sure my brother cleaned it. The second time, they took it back over there. The third time, she refused it. I also had other appliances to replace that are in excellent condition, like the washer and dryer, refrigerator, stove, everything that was supposed to be returned to her, and she refused every one of them.
All right, sir. Now let me ask you this question. If all those things were in wonderful condition, is that what you're saying to me? The refrigerator was in wonderful condition?
Yes, Your Honor.
So why in the world would you want to return them to her?
The reason being is that I didn't want any more friction between my ex-wife and my mother anymore.
Well, just a second. Let me stop you right there. You say the appliances that are now in the home that your brother is living in
Yes, Your Honor.
are in great condition.
Yes, Your Honor.
And what about the appliances in your home? Are they in great condition?
Yes, I keep my stuff clean.
So they're nice and clean, right?
Yeah.
Well, everybody should be happy. What do you have to pay movers for? You have great appliances, and you have great appliances. Why do you have to move them from one place to another? Why don't you just say, well, I got great appliances, I got great appliances, let's just call it a day. We both have what we need.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Well, look at the way you're looking at her. I wouldn't want you around me either.
Well, I don't want her near me either, Your Honor.
And later today,
You can afford to go on dates. Ask them when's the last time we've been able to do anything because we're paying off $8,000. They are your children. Help us.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Melnick is suing her former daughter-in-law, Melinda Sperry, for the return of her appliances.
So why are you here except to annoy each other?
Eventually we were going to move all the appliances from the other house that my brother is renting from us into the new house that we purchased from my mother.
Right.
And she was supposed to receive all her appliances. My mother was supposed to receive all her appliances back.
Right.
Yes.
Right. Right. However, you just told me that
Melinda,
all of the appliances that were left in your brother's house
were to be returned, and she
are
refused.
fine, perfect, nice and clean, nothing wrong with them.
No.
I don't understand why you're annoying each other.
Your Honor, may I please speak? I have pictures of what she wanted someone to spring clean. I'll show you what she gave us.
You don't seem to understand what I'm saying to you, madam. I don't understand, Grandma, why you're here. If your son has nice appliances in his house, and she has nice appliances in her house, and you have 3 grandchildren, right? Then you're only here to annoy each other. And I don't understand that. Especially when you're supposed to, as a grandmother, make things nice instead of make things difficult.
I did, Your Honor.
No,
I sold
no,
my
no,
house
no, no.
cheaply.
No,
Extremely cheaply.
Listen
I
to
have
me.
a police
It's
report.
time to put a stop to it. This is over appliances. Appliances are a lot of baloney. And I see absolutely no basis to irritate each other. If you want the appliances from your son's house, take them. Take them, and then he'll buy new ones. Now, I'm going to get to something that seems to me even more important. You made 3 children together?
Yes, Your Honor.
You're supposed to love your children more than you hate each other.
I love my children dearly.
And you too.
She doesn't let me see them.
You too. You are supposed to love your children more than you
I
hate
pay
each
child
other.
support, and
you
she don't.
Hey,
She doesn't let me.
mother-in-law, you're not being smart. You're supposed to stay out of it.
Yes, ma'am.
You're supposed to stay out of it.
After
I guarantee you that you don't know everything that went on in their home.
No.
I have married children, and I guarantee you, I don't know everything that goes on in their home. So you are a fool if you butt in. You're a fool if you butt in when they're married. You're a fool when you butt in when they're not married anymore. Because what happens is she gets mad at you, and you don't see your grandchildren.
Exactly. She
Of course. Of course. Well, look at the way you're looking at her. I wouldn't want you around me either.
Well, I don't want her near me
Listen
either,
to me.
Your Honor.
I'm telling you.
Not after she beat me up.
I'm telling you. I also know that a court gave her a restraining order against you.
But that doesn't stop her from calling my home and irritating me.
Miss
And the
Melnick,
reason why I'm not
Miss
working
Mel-
is because of her.
Miss Melnick, you just don't get it.
Yes, I do, ma'am.
You just don't get it.
I get it.
You are going to be without 3 grandchildren. Now, he's supposed to see his children.
No, he has terms which he is supposed to fulfill before he sees them.
Do you mean support?
I pay child support.
No.
What kind of terms?
Well, he just come out of drug rehab, so that's one. Then he's supposed to have 10 weeks of parenting classes. And it goes back to supervised visitations.
Okay. Were you an inpatient in drug program, sir?
It was a mental depression breakdown because I didn't. After the incident that occurred.
You don't go into it. Listen to me.
I haven't seen my children.
Listen to me.
Yes, Your Honor.
It says in the order that you are to go to parenting classes, and until you finish satisfactorily those parenting classes and remain drug-free, that you will only have supervised visitation. So am I to assume that you have not gone to the parenting classes?
I attended the first parenting classes, and in the decree of divorce, it said that if I do not fulfill the parenting classes, which are 5, not 10, that I still have supervised visitation. And then after I fulfill the parenting classes, I have unsupervised visitation.
Sir, how long ago were you divorced?
It's been a year. October 14th, Your Honor.
Are you
last
telling
year.
me that in the past year you could not go to 5 parenting classes?
Your Honor, I work second shift, and there is no way that, no, I couldn't. Because in the divorce decree, we finally settled on that in October, and I work as a custodian, and I work evenings.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
You don't need my stove because you don't even know how to cook. If it doesn't come out of a box or a can, you don't do it.
What time's your broom fly away?
And later today,
How can I give you what I don't have?
How can you let this man pay your bills?
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Patricia Melnick is suing her former daughter-in-law, Melinda Sperry, for the return of her appliances.
Listen to me, sir. You have 3 children. One way or another, you find 4 days in a year to complete parenting classes if you are legitimately interested in seeing your children. You have vacation. You take time off without pay to see your 3 children. If that's the prerequisite, and clearly, based upon what I'm hearing, without going into all of the gory details, you had certain problems, and the judge was comfortable in saying to you, if you want to see your children in an unsupervised fashion, you have to do these things. And from what you're telling me, in a whole year, you have not been able to find 5 days to complete parenting classes.
And she still hasn't let me see the children, even under the stipulation, to see the children with supervised visitation.
Well, sir, that's wrong. And I'm telling Miss Sperry that it's important for the children to see their father. You got it?
Oh, yes, it is.
You got it? And
Yes,
what
Your
I'm
Honor.
telling you is, if you want to be a father, instead of a supervised father, then you make time to finish whatever prerequisites the court set for you seeing your children, and don't stand there and complain that you're too busy. If you can't find 5 days to go to parenting classes, I don't know when you're going to find 5 days to see your children. That's your responsibility. But I would, more importantly, I would try you and your mother to sit down and to decide that you better stop. You too. Stop what's going on, because that's not good for the children. You know,
Your Honor, on December 11th, her boyfriend and her damaged my husband's car. I have a police report.
oh, you know, you just
Out
don't
of
get it,
spite.
Miss Melnick. Your lawsuit's dismissed. Goodbye.
Bodies are excused. You may step out.
Thank you. You don't know how to take care of those kids. You don't need my stove because you don't even know how to cook. If it doesn't come out of a box or a can, you don't do it.
What time's your broom fly away?
Same time yours does, baby.
And now the next case.
Bodies on Boldazar versus Jarvis. Step forward, please.
39-year-old Julie Boldazar wants her ex-husband, cable TV installer Lee Jarvis, 52, to pay the medical costs for their son's broken hand.
How long have you folks been divorced?
4.5, almost 5 years.
And how many children did you have together?
2.
Ms. Boldazar, according to your complaint, one of your sons was visiting with his father.
Yes.
And was injured.
Yes.
Playing in the backyard.
Yes.
You want him to cover half of the medical costs that were not reimbursed by your insurance.
Absolutely.
You say it's not your responsibility.
Yes, ma'am.
Whose responsibility is it?
That's a good question, Your Honor.
I only ask good questions.
In our divorce decree, it does not say I'm responsible for medical and dental.
Just a second. In your divorce decrees, does it say that your former wife is responsible for medical and dental?
No, ma'am, it's not.
So your divorce decree is silent as to who's responsible for medical and dental.
Yes, ma'am.
Is that right?
Yes.
So your former wife says, I am prepared to pay half. Took 2 of you to make a child. I'm prepared to pay half of the medical costs. Doesn't that sound right to you, sir?
Yes, ma'am, it does.
That was easy.
Pretty easy.
Can I see the unreimbursed medical bills, please? Did you add up the unreimbursed amounts?
Yes, I believe it was $1,984.
Total?
Total, yes.
So he owes you for half of that?
Yes, I believe so.
Well, I believe so, too.
Thank you.
When the divorce judgment is silent, Mr. Jarvis, it seems to me you're a parent. You pay child support?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How much do you pay in child support?
The payment is $511 a month.
For 2 children?
Yes, ma'am.
And who carries the insurance for the boys?
My husband, my current husband.
That's really not a lot of money for child support for 2 children. How old are the boys?
15 and 17.
$992. So that's what he owes you for that.
Thank you.
Now, there's another part of your claim that I don't quite understand.
Okay.
You want to explain it to me?
Sure. Both of the boys have, and I'm not sure of the medical term, but in layman's terms, extremely difficult orthodontic cases. Because my husband does carry orthodontic insurance as well on the boys, when it was presented to those orthodontists, they were not able to help us and had to refer us outside of the insurance system. And so we had to seek the services of very skilled orthodontists as well as jaw surgeons. My oldest son in particular is going to have a jaw surgery, which is horrible, very grotesque. Anyway, we didn't really have a choice. This is not a cosmetic situation. This is a medical condition. Because
Well, if it's a medical condition, madam, why don't you take that up with your insurance company? Because no insurance company can disclaim, because if you say that this is a very serious condition.
Right.
HMOs very often try to disclaim.
Yes.
What you have to do is you have to fight them. They can't say, we don't have doctors to fix the problem, and the problem is too serious, therefore you have to pay for it. That sounds ridiculous to me.
Right.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Well, in this case, Mr. Jarvis, you owe your former wife $992 for the unreimbursed medical bills of your son who was injured. I'm going to suggest to you, sir, that it doesn't look to me by the size of your boys that you have much longer to go with regard to your financial responsibility for them. That means you have to take a second job. Do it. That's what parents have to do. But these are your boys, and minimally half of the responsibility, especially since your former wife's husband is paying for the medical insurance, at least half of the bills that aren't covered by insurance have to be considered yours. Do you understand that?
I understand that.
Okay, thank you, that's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. This case number 418 on the calendar in the matter of Hickman versus Fraley. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat, please.
You were together for 4.5 years, you let him use your credit cards, you split up, you don't pay.
Correct.
What'd you give him your credit cards for?
Well, we dated for almost a little over 4.5 years, and he did not have a credit card. So on occasions when he needed to use a credit card.
Why didn't you have a credit card?
I didn't want a credit card. I didn't need one.
You had hers?
Didn't have hers. She had hers.
Did you use hers?
I didn't use hers without her being there. She was
I
there.
didn't mean that you used it without her knowledge and permission. Did you use her credit card?
We used her credit cards.
Did you ever use her credit card for things that was strictly for you?
Yes.
Like what?
Well, some car repairs.
Okay, and that was for your car?
Right.
So you did need a credit card for your car repairs?
Well, at the situation, I didn't really need a credit card. I could have paid for it myself cash, but it was offered the use of the credit card to pay for my car repairs.
So, chivalry being dead, you accepted?
Well, that's a different type of, I wouldn't say that. I'd say that the money was supposed to be used towards a vacation that I was going to be going on with the plaintiff.
How much did you charge on her credit card for your car repair?
About $850.
Did you pay
that
for
would
it?
be actually incorrect.
Okay. How much did he pay?
How much did he pay?
For the car repairs.
How
much did he charge on your credit card for the car repairs?
For the car repairs, about $1,400.
And how much of that did you pay?
I'd say I paid probably all of it.
Show me.
I can't show you. I can show you what I did pay, though. I can show you what I've paid over the years. Basically, the plaintiff had my checkbook. She wrote checks for me. She just said, okay, well, this is what we're paying, this is what I'm paying. And I just continued to pay.
Let me just see, sir, your checks for June.
There you go.
Okay. June.
And this is a statement. I paid $908. Your Honor, basically through our relationship, I paid for everything.
What are you showing me here?
Those are copies. I couldn't get canceled checks in time. The bank sent me the wrong statements. So I'm showing you a bank statement, and as well as a copy of my check ledger, which shows that I paid $908.
I'm not interested in your check ledger, sir. Okay. Now, what about Visa? Let me see the charges on Visa for his car.
They're right here. And I have payments. I mean, he was accredited, this is from October of 95 until July of 96. And there's, in the red, those are his payments. So I gave him full credit for everything that he did or paid. I just want what he owes me plus the interest. It's accrued since. I agree that it's pretty lame that he charged
pretty
on
lame.
the credit card.
Very lame. Very lame. And
It wasn't a
nobody's
matter of me charging on her card. It's like, I want this, I'm charging on the credit card, and you're paying for it.
Okay. You owe her some money for the car repairs, sir.
But these other charges I mean, are his that he made.
Your Honor,
that
did she?
I would not have said that, yes, go ahead and use my credit
Your
card
Honor,
and I'll
on the-
pay for this.
On the American Express bill that she breaks down for June, does she break down what would be my charges and her charges?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, why
she
wouldn't
does.
she want to do that throughout our relationship on the American Express
Well,
bill
because
that I paid?
why?
We always do.
Just a second. Why?
Yeah.
She did.
No, no, no.
But maybe she did it in this month because, you know, you don't break up overnight, sir. Things start going bad in the months before that.
A couple years before that.
Right? Well, then you stayed in the relationship longer than you should have. You know, people have to be smart, both men and women. You don't commingle these assets and expect somebody else, courts, to waste their time going through a 5-year relationship, separating who bought Kleenex and who bought toilet paper and whether it was his toilet paper or your Kleenex. That's just not going to happen, madam. You look like an intelligent young woman. You don't let somebody else use your credit card. You
I
know,
took his word. I thought he
dating
would
for
pay.
4.5 years isn't being married.
I realize that.
Why, after 4.5 years, weren't you married? Huh?
Exactly.
Exactly.
Exactly. So, Mr. Fraley,
Yes, Your Honor.
I'm going to try to keep it as simple as possible. You broke up in June.
July.
In July of 1996, correct?
Yes.
What I would like you to do is, assuming that this was valid evidence, which it is not, but assuming it was, I just want you to take out the sheet of payments that you made on the Visa and MasterCard on or after July of 1996.
None.
All right. So that what you're expecting me to believe, sir,
So that everything was paid prior.
is that you were all up to date on the Visa and all up to date on the MasterCard. If that's what you want me to believe.
That's what I want you to believe.
No way. No way.
Your Honor, breakups are never good. I mean, through our 4-year relationship, I paid for, and I think the plaintiff will agree that I basically financially took care of her when we went out.
I would disagree.
Well, she can disagree if she'd like, but since I was making more money than her, I took more of the financial burden, and that was understood.
Except, sir, that when you broke up, there was an $8,000 bill due on Visa.
Okay.
That was a debt. That was a debt that...
Wasn't my $8,000.
Well, but a good portion, at least a portion of it, sir, was yours. A portion of it here has your car repairs, which were extensive, and you were making minimum payments due on the account. So then you break up and you decide, well, I don't have to make minimum payments anymore on the account. I'm not going to make another payment on the account, which is exactly what you did, because there is nothing in your ledger to suggest that after you kissed each other goodbye, you made one additional payment, which is really sort of outrageous.
I never knew how much money I paid all along, though.
Well, that's your problem.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I do believe him when he says that he paid for certain things in cash. Otherwise, you would have been a jerk to stay with him since he was earning 4 times as much as you were, right?
Yes.
Good.
And later today,
You don't, sir, ask her boyfriend to step up to the mic so that you can do fisticuffs with him. It's like Dumb and Dumber.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Wendy Hickman wants her ex-boyfriend, Mark Fraley, to pay her back for the use of her credit while they were together.
She's suing you for half of this $8,000, and I don't even know if half of it is yours. But I certainly think that your car repairs are yours. There are a lot of other charges here that are substantial, big ones. You know, did you go to Tahoma Lodge in Tahoma, California together?
Yeah, we did.
You went together and you charged that on the credit card, $232, right?
She charged it. I paid it.
You paid.
Okay, she would charge something. I'd bring cash, and I'd pay cash.
Who would you pay cash to?
I'd pay cash for everything else. It wasn't a matter of, okay, let's throw everything on the credit card. I wasn't walking around penniless.
Oh, just a second. I understand. You went to this lodge, and how long were you at the lodge?
Two nights.
Yeah, 2 nights.
2 nights. But truth is, I see what you mean. The lodge is paid for on here, but you also had to eat. You tip people. I assume you didn't go skiing or
I
whatever
have my
you're
own
doing.
money. It's not like I went penniless.
No, but he was with you, so I assume he paid. Cash.
No, not necessarily.
You know something? Truth of the matter is, I don't necessarily believe you either. I think that you put some things on your credit card, some things that are clearly his bills. But according to this, you did go on vacation, certain things you put on the credit card. But if you look down the same dates, there are no dates there, like for restaurants going out to eat, so that he probably paid some of the meals in cash and you put some of the stuff on your credit card. And whether that balanced itself out 50-50 is anybody's guess. You still had an $8,000 nut
Nobody is going to figure this out. Certainly, I am not going to award you $4,000 because I do believe him when he says that he paid for certain things in cash. Otherwise, you would have been a jerk to stay with him since he was earning 4 times as much as you were, right?
Yes.
Good. So I don't think you look like a jerk. So I'm awarding you $2,000. Consider yourself lucky. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Unbelievable. So I was helping him out. He didn't have the money. He didn't have the credit to get a credit card, so I allowed him to use it.
But I was making 4 times as much, so how come I didn't have the money?
I don't know. Good question. You just don't say on good faith that I'm going to pay you back and you don't do it. That's just wrong.
Oh, but it's okay to take and take and take, and then that's all right.
You have a twisted view of our relationship.
And now the next case.
All parties on Welton versus Lunaria Restaurant. Step forward, please.
Harmonica virtuoso Danny Welton is suing restaurant owner Bernard Jacopi for not paying for his performance. Bernard claims the harmonica player's rude behavior caused customers to leave.
Mr. Welton,
Yes, ma'am.
you play the harmonica.
Yes, ma'am, I do.
You do that for a living?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
According to your complaint, you had a contract with the defendant to play at his restaurant.
We had a verbal agreement because I...
Am I speaking? You had a contract with the defendant
Yes,
to
ma'am.
play at his restaurant.
Yes, ma'am.
You played there.
Yes, ma'am.
He didn't pay you.
That's right.
That's what this case is about.
That's right.
He's got a defense, and he says, you didn't play and you cost him money. So, your agreement was an oral one. How much were you supposed to be paid?
Initially, my band was supposed to get $350 for the band. I was supposed to get 85% of all covers.
Mm-hmm.
And also, I was supposed to be reimbursed for an ad I took out in the Hollywood Reporter.
Mm-hmm.
I got not, and also, something very important and very dear to me, he was supposed to feed my band and he gave them nothing. Nothing.
No, that's not true. Even according to you, he gave him something. According to you, he gave him stale pizza.
Yeah, well, stale pizza. That was nothing.
They ate it.
They spit it, well, actually, they spit it out.
Mr. Welton, let me explain something to you, sir. We are not going to, in this proceeding, play with each other.
Yes,
okay?
ma'am.
This was for a one-night performance?
One-night engagement.
And how many shows were you supposed to do in that one night?
2.
And did you do the first one?
Yes, ma'am, and it was packed.
Packed. And then there was a problem, according to you, sir, with the second performance. So why don't you tell me about it?
There was a drunken lady in the audience who started to heckle me.
Mm-hmm. What did you say?
You know, I'll be honest with you, Judge. I do not recall exactly. If I were to say exactly, I would be wrong.
Okay, so you started shouting things.
That's right.
How long have you been a performer, sir?
All my life. Since
So
I'm 3 years old.
I assume you've had people do this sort of thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so
And
what
I
did
know
you
how
do?
to handle them.
So what'd you do?
I start throwing lines back at her to keep her quiet, hoping that would squelch the problem. And her boyfriend got mad at me and threatened to charge the microphone. And I said, come on. You know, he was going to come up there. I was, you know, I wasn't going to back off. I've never taken a half a step backwards in my entire life.
So what happened?
Bernard closed the show at that point.
Bernard, you closed the show down when was happening.
We were forced to.
Shh. You closed down the show.
Mm-hmm.
Is that right? Very smart. Exactly the right thing to do. So what happened next?
Well, actually, there weren't that many people there because it's kind of an early type supper club. You get your big crowd the first show, and sometimes I noticed that there's never even a second show. The first 2 times I played there, there wasn't even a second show.
Oh, you played there before?
Twice before.
Did he pay you?
Yes, the first time everything went well. The second time, he broke his agreement with me. He did not pay me the cover charges.
But you went back for a third time.
Well, I gave him another chance. You know, I'm kind of a sucker that way.
A sucker who never backs down.
That's right.
Mm-hmm.
Kind of an all-day, not back down sucker.
Mm-hmm.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Mr. Welton marched around the bar screaming profanity that he was not going on until he was introduced because he's a very big star and he doesn't do things this way.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy.
Harmonica virtuoso Danny Welton is suing restaurant owner Bernard Jacopi for not paying for his performance.
You didn't pay him, correct?
Correct.
You didn't pay him anything.
Not even a biscuit.
No, he gave you stale pizza, Mr. Welton. Mr. Jacoby, tell me why you didn't pay him at all.
The agreement was for 3 shows, like every entertainer. He only did once. We had to reimburse the people that were there, and we had to
You
turn
mean
away
reimburse the people for the second show?
for the second show.
For the cover charge?
That's correct. And we had to turn away all the people that are coming for the second and third show. We had to close the bar. We lost bar revenue, and we lost show revenue. In addition to that, his manager that's present had a tab for $80. Here it is, and he signed it saying he was going to pay it the following day. He never did come and pay it.
Well, that's not his problem. He is not his manager's
Well,
keeper.
he was representing Mr. Weldon. And in leaving the property, we have witness here. He assaulted our maitre d'. We have the copy of the security and the police report here. And it doesn't
Who's the
seem-
maitre d'?
I am.
Step up, sir. What is your name?
Gerard Buck.
You have a complaint filed against this gentleman for assault?
I did file a complaint, yes.
How did he assault you?
On the way out, he elbowed me very hard and kicked me.
That is not true.
We called security, made a report, and then filed the complaint with the police. Made a report with the police department.
Were you escorting him off forcefully?
No, you can't go near him. I mean, he's out of control.
If I may, Your Honor?
You are the manager?
Yes, I am, Your Honor.
You drink a lot.
Pardon?
You drink a lot.
No, that wasn't just for me. That was for other people in the audience.
Well, but you were buying.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Why didn't you pay the bill?
Because he said he's not going to pay us. And I said, you can deduct it from what you owe us.
Oh, was that what you said?
That's exactly what I said to him.
Oh, so you told him to deduct
The $80 from the amount of money he
from
owed
the
us.
$300.
Well, there were 28, Your Honor, if I may explain.
Sure.
It's a small showroom with a large bar off to the right-hand side of the performers in a large restaurant that opens up during the performances.
Your Honor.
Just a second. What is your last name?
Edel, Your Honor. E-D-E-L-L.
Mr. Riedel, were you there when this incident occurred with this lady heckler?
Absolutely.
Well, didn't you tell Mr. Welton that he behaved totally inappropriately?
No, I don't believe he did behave
Sure he
inappropriately.
did.
This man threatened him bodily.
No, he didn't threaten him until he started.
Oh, no, Your Honor.
Mr. Riedel, just pay attention to me,
Surely.
sir. He's not a comedian.
Yes, I am.
He's a You are?
He's also a comedian. He's a stand-up comedian, Your Honor.
Listen to me.
Yes, sir, ma'am.
When you're performing, you're in somebody else's house. You, sir, are in his house.
Yes, ma'am.
He has invited guests into his house.
A couple of drunken ones.
That's possible. You weren't playing, sir, in a church. You were playing in a bar restaurant. And somebody was behaving badly.
Excuse me.
Don't say excuse me. I don't excuse you. Pay attention. You don't have to be a genius to figure this out. You just have to use a little common sense. If somebody is drunk in the audience, then what you do is you try not to have that escalate into a dangerous situation. Dangerous either for you, for the other patrons, for members of the band. And if a situation appears to be escalating, then you use good judgment, not that male macho testosterone that I've heard about so much lately. You walk off the stage and you approach the owner or the manager and you say, there's this lady out there heckling me. I just taken a quick break. See what you can do about this lady because I can't continue to perform. You don't, sir, ask her boyfriend to step up to the mic so that you can do fisticuffs with him.
No, he invited himself up to the mic.
I know you said, come on up here.
Well,
You know, it's like Dumb and Dumber.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You're supposed to be in charge. You're
Sober as
supposed
a
to
judge.
exercise good judgment. And good judgment is not closing down the show because you invite somebody to come up to the stage, somebody who is probably drunk because he's with a drunken lady, according to you.
Well, he charged the stage, so I said, come on, you know.
You know, Mr. Welton, you keep changing your story. I want to tell you something. You told me your story. You said, I don't back away from anything. He says, I'm going to come up there, and you said, come on. Dum-dum. Your case is dismissed. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
In the matter of Denault versus Denault, parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have seats, please.
All right, looks like the cast is as follows. You, sir, are the plaintiff.
Yes, ma'am.
This is your son.
Yes.
Grandson?
Yes.
How old are you?
15.
Is this the grandson in question?
Yes, ma'am.
You are suing your son for support, retroactive support, for a time when your grandson came to live with you.
Yes, Your Honor.
Why don't you tell me why he came to live with you?
Well, my son and his wife, ex-wife, called my wife and I and told us that they couldn't control Richard anymore and that he was becoming a street person and he was on drugs and not going to school. And they decided to get rid of him. They were going to throw him into court, I guess the ward of California till he was 18. They put him in a mental institution in Bellflower, California, and that's where we picked him up at. And my son and daughter-in-law, or ex-daughter-in-law, promised us that they were going to help us to support Richard. And we knew he had a history of drugs. And
When did you have this conversation about support?
this was about 1st of June or so, because we picked up Richard on the 12th.
Of June?
Right.
Well, tell me what the conversation was about support.
Well, that they would both give us $100 a month to help us take care of Richard. I told my son that I couldn't afford to solely pay it, so that's that I needed his help to help me with Richard, and he agreed, and so did Brenda, or Michelle, as she's well known now. And we went before a notary, and we signed papers to that effect. I cannot find my copies. All my files are missing, and I don't know why.
You mean copies of papers that say he would pay you $100 a month?
Yes.
And you're telling me that that was in writing?
Yes.
Is that true, sir?
No, it wasn't.
So what happened with Richard when he came to your home?
Well, we tried to get him into school because he'd been out of school for over, I guess, 6 months to 7 months. He was flunked in the 7th grade. So I called the governor of Utah and asked them if they could help me to get Richard into some kind of a tutoring program. And I guess through him calling the school in our area and everything, I finally got him a tutor to help him through the summer to get ready for the 8th grade.
How long did he live with you?
Altogether, 11 months.
How come
I had him up until December 25th.
What happened in December?
Yeah, we met his father and his father's new wife in Caesar's Palace, I believe it was. And we let Richard reacquaint with his father, and we tried to talk to his father into taking him home with him for a week or two. And he did, and then about a week after he had him, or 3 days or 4 days, something like that, he called me back and said, I'm deciding to keep Richard.
And how long did he keep him for?
Well, he called me back in it's either January or February and told me he couldn't keep Richard in the house. He kept running away. He was starting to ditch school again, if he was in school. I don't think his father put him in school for at least a month or so. And then about a month after that, he called me again and said Richard was a runaway again. He took off in his underwear or his pajamas, I don't know which. And his father was looking for him, but it took him a week to find him.
And then he came back to live with you?
No, then he went to court, and he was being charged for 2 burglaries and a few other things. My son didn't want him anymore, so he had petitioned the court to make Richard a ward of the court until he was 18. They called me and asked me if I could take Richard back to Utah to save him from being a ward of the state of California.
And you did?
I did.
And how long did you keep him at that point?
I had him until October, I believe. My son snuck up and stole him from us.
What do you mean he snuck up and stole him?
He came up while my wife and I were at where she works. And then I get a call from my daughter saying that Rick had just come up there with a sheriff and took Richard with him. And then after that happened, we found a lot of papers missing, our files, a few other things. So I don't know if they prepared this prior to him coming up or what.
Okay, sir.
When Richard went to the hospital, his mother put him in there because Richard was living with his mother at the time. Brenda, Michelle, she came and told me that she put him in the hospital. And I said, well, ask Richard if he wants to come live with me. He said no. So Michelle said, well, how about if he can go with his grandfather? Well, Fred said, yeah, I'll take him. So Richard says, well, I'll go with him. So he went with him because Michelle was going to put him into a placement home.
When did you change your name from Brenda to Michelle?
About 5 years ago.
See, when I was married to her, she was Brenda. So I'm used to Brenda, you know, calling her Brenda. So my Fred took him to Utah with him. And he asked me, well, Rick, are you going to help me? And I says, well, if I have some money, I will send you some money. He says, okay. So he went up to Utah, and I was getting calls from Fred that he was in trouble, sniffing gas and all this stuff. We met in Las Vegas in December, and Fred said, take Richard with you. I want him to get to know you again and all that. I said, okay. So Richard was with me, and he was getting in some trouble with the law and stuff like that. So we went to court, and the court was going to put him into a placement. So Richard says, well, I'll go back to Grandpa's in Utah. So I called him up, and I asked him, I said, Fred, Richard would like to come back to Utah. And he says, okay, I'll take him back. He came down and picked him up, took him up there. And he was having problems with Richard. Richard was sneaking cigarettes, and he asked for the cigarettes back, and Richard said no, so he punched him out, gave him a black eye. And so I called up there, and I asked, how's everything with Richard? And he said, well, I just punched him out because he wouldn't give me the cigarettes. Then he mouthed off, and I hit him again. I said, you know, that's not right. Why are you doing that? Well, I'm tired of his, excuse my French, I'm tired of it. And I said, well, try to understand him, you know. Then I called up again. Then he's over medicating him with Zoloft, 150 milligrams a day. And I said, why are you doing that? He says, well, I'm trying to keep him calmed down. And I talked to my girlfriend, my wife, and I said, well, you know what? Let's go up to Utah and pick him up. He's getting abused.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
Stupid isn't written here, sir. They do not send you to NA meetings because you're on Zoloft. Don't say dumb things, especially to me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 57-year-old machinist Fred Denault says his son, 40-year-old Rick Denault, owes him for caring for Rick's son, his grandson, 15-year-old Richard.
Well, just a second. Let's step back a minute. The judge in the court in California permitted your son, instead of going to a juvenile facility, to go to live with your father. Is that correct?
Yes.
He was released to your father's custody, not to yours. Is that right?
Yes.
So you had no right to go and pick him up because he was, in fact, released to your father's custody. Right?
Right.
See, I didn't even read those papers, and I know that. Bird knows that, too, because we've been around the block.
Except, didn't the court said they allowed him to go up there? Isn't that a different phrase? Allowed?
Let me tell you what they did in the state of California. They saved themselves probably $100,000 by not putting him in a facility here at taxpayers' expense. They said, we're going to make it Utah's problem. We'll send him to Utah to live with his grandfather. Let me first discuss with you, sir, your countersuit. I'd like to get that resolved first, which is you're suing for mental anguish for your son. You want $2,000. You don't get a penny. Nothing.
Okay.
Your 15-year-old problem, you visited on your father and mother. They had their own problems. I assume you weren't a piece of cake to raise. You have other children, sir?
Yes.
How many other children?
We have 3 others. And
They
about-
raised their children. You were having a problem with your child. So let me tell you what you did. You were having a problem, you and Brenda, Michelle, Sonia, whatever her name is. You were having a problem with your child. You couldn't deal with it. So you call your father. Help me out, take him. Then you take him back. While he's in your care, goes out and he commits a couple of burglaries. Now the courts are going to take him. The courts have evidently decided that you are not fit to take care of him, and your former wife, Michelle, Brenda, Sonia, is not prepared to take care of him. So they call your father with your permission. And he takes him. And he can't control him. Neither could you. So where you get this countersuit from? You've been reading too many fiction books. But let's get to your lawsuit. How much money did you send to your father in the almost year that your son lived there?
$100. Gift certificate for Sears, for JCPenney's.
How many children do you have?
How many do I have?
That was
I
my
have
question.
one.
This one.
Yes.
No, he has 3 others that he don't bother to claim or support.
Just a second. How many children do you have?
I have one.
You don't have 3 others? What is it? You don't
Well,
have 3?
I have another child, except she got remarried and she had the child adopted from her new husband.
So that accounts for 1. And what about 2 more?
2 more?
2 more. You have 2 more?
No.
That you don't. I'm not talking about that you see, that you don't see, that you support, that you don't support, that you have.
I have 3. Well.
So I assume that since you say you only have 1 child, that I don't even have to ask the question whether you don't support the other 3 children. What kind of work do you do?
I work for a company called West Sanitation, put air fresheners in restrooms.
Okay, and how long have you been working for them?
6 years.
How old are you, sir?
40 years old.
You know, there comes a time when you have to stop visiting your problems on your parents. You've got a lot of other problems. Meanwhile, the one major problem that you have was a 15-year-old child. You asked your parents to take some responsibility for him, and then you had some financial problems, and in a whole year you sent him $100. You know, you can't feed a goldfish on $100.
Well,
But he says something rather interesting, sir, in his answer, which I'm sort of curious about. Did you apply for welfare for him when he was living with you?
Yes, I did.
And how much did you collect for welfare while he was living with you?
Esther, you remember?
2, excuse me.
I think it was 2 payments of $250. That was towards the end of '96.
Yeah, I only got 2 up to, they helped me out with 2 months.
2 months, and how much did you receive for those 2 months?
It was a total of 500, because it was $240 a month, so it was quarter $480.
Yeah, because Richard had a $1,200 hospital bill when he was sniffing gas.
Okay, but they paid that.
Right, that's how we had to go for this.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
If he cared, he wouldn't be doing what he did to him up there in Utah. Beating him up, you know, giving him too much medication.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Fred Denault wants his son Rick to pay him back for caring for his son, Richard.
I have a sense that you haven't seen the last of this responsibility. But right now, it's your son's responsibility. You have a lawsuit before me, and I try to keep things simple. You know, the old KISS principle, keep it simple. Your agreement was for $1,100. You got $480. I am not giving you credit, sir, for the $100 gift certificate that you sent to your son for clothes. It's ridiculous. So I'm awarding you $620. What do you want to say?
He was not with him for 11 months. He was just with him for 9 months. 6 months in 1996 from June to December. Then I brought him back. Then he went back on 5/27 of 97. Then I brought him back 3 months after that.
Is that about right, sir?
Was it 527? I'm sorry, I'll stand corrected. It was 527.
Okay. So then we have to reduce this award by $200, making the award $420.
Can I say?
Is your son currently under medical care, sir?
No, he isn't.
Why not?
He is. He doesn't need it. He is improved.
Is he in school?
He was going to a non-public school. Yesterday we had an IUP meeting. He is now going to a public school now. I have letters stating.
So he's doing okay?
Oh, he's doing 100% better. 100% better.
Well, that's very good.
He's an A and B student.
Good.
I have his report card.
You doing better?
Yes. And he's going to NA to get off because when he was with my father, he was on that Zoloft for so long. So the courts wanted him to go to NA to get off of it, you know, from the withdrawals and stuff off the Zoloft.
What? Stupid isn't written here, sir. They do not send you to NA meetings because you're on Zoloft.
That's what the
No. They send you to NA meetings, sir, if you're on illegal drugs, not if you're on prescription medication that you're taking. They don't send you to NA meetings.
Well,
what do you, I mean, I'm not
well,
stupid.
I know that, so I'm just saying that when I brought him back from Utah, we went to court, and this is what the judge put him.
The judge may have put him there, but not because he was taking Zoloft. Maybe because he was taking a little crack, maybe because he was taking a little cocaine, maybe because he was smoking a little dust. For all those other things, maybe he went to NA meetings. Does that sound right to you?
Maybe he was doing that in Utah.
Does that sound right to you?
I don't know about
No,
with
I
me.
don't know.
Maybe it was with him because I brought him.
Hey. When you sent him to your father the first time, you sent him there because he was doing drugs, right?
Right. Mother and I.
Yep. Mother.
Mother
What kind of drugs was he doing?
I don't know. He was living with his mother
Well, you should know you're his father.
because they went.
You should know you're his father.
And he lived across the street from his son.
How can I figure that?
Sir, you should know. And they don't send someone to NA meetings because they're taking prescription drugs. Don't say dumb things, especially to me. But I'm pleased to see that you're doing better. Right?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Seems to me that if it was recently that you spent some time with your grandfather and grandmother, even though you may not think so now, it may have been a good break for you, because if it wasn't for them, you would have been in juvenile hall, right?
Yes.
Huh?
Yes.
And that wouldn't have been a very good thing.
No.
You wouldn't have liked that, right?
No.
So they really saved you from going to jail.
I went.
What?
I went.
You went to jail. They saved you from spending more time in jail.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
Did you thank them?
Yes.
Do you write to them?
No.
Do you think you should?
They told me and my father they didn't want nothing to do with us.
I think your grandparents probably would like to hear from you, even if it's just an occasional note. You think you can do that?
Yes.
Good. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. It's case number 431 on the calendar in the matter of Scott versus Walker. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ma'am, have a seat.
Well, you folks are cousins, but clearly don't like each other. Is that a fair statement?
No, I never said I didn't like them.
That's a fair statement, Your Honor.
I never said I didn't like them.
Well,
I just have a disagreement.
Cousins usually don't resolve their disagreement in court. Mr. Scott, are you part of this lawsuit, sir?
I believe so.
None of this property that was taken is yours. Is that right?
No, the boots and the earrings are not mine.
Sit down.
But I helped contribute.
Sit down. Miss Scott, you allege, I assume, that this young lady stole certain things from you.
Yes, she did.
What do you say she stole from you?
She stole my figure-8 earrings that I had purchased in November. They were diamond-cut figure-8 earrings. And she stole my
Timberland boots.
Okay. And you claim, how old are you?
I'm 16.
Your name is?
Tierra Walker.
Tierra?
Yes.
And you say, well, I have the earrings, right?
No, I don't have the earrings.
Who has the earrings?
My little sister, Tanisha Walker.
Where is she? That Tanisha has the earrings,
Yes.
and she'll give them back when she pays $450 for babysitting, right?
Yes.
Mm-hmm. And as far as the boots are concerned, you have her boots?
Yes. Yes, I do.
And the reason I took her boots is because she borrowed my sneakers and didn't return them.
Yes. My mother and my sister had to go up there and get them.
But you still have the boots?
Yes, I do.
So why don't you tell me how this family tragedy began?
Well, it all started in November when me and my husband and my 2 children went over Tracy's house for a couple of weeks to stay until my house came through. When I went over there, I took my jewelry off and I set it on the entertainment system. 2 days later, when I went to put my earrings back on, they were gone. I asked everyone in the house, did they know where my earrings was at? Everyone said no, including my husband. I called Tracy while she was at work, and she said she didn't know anything about them. I was hoping maybe she put them on to go to work in or something. So that was the end of my earrings. I moved out on December 2nd. I got my house. Maybe 2 weeks later, I moved away, and about a week later, Tracy called me saying Tierra ran away again. Tierra's a runaway. She ran away again, and did I see her, or, you know, did I know where she would be at or anything like that? And I told her no. And as the conversation grew on, she said, and she ran away in your Timberlands, my boots. And I was like, my boots? So, you know, I said, well, you're going to have to get me another pair. She said, no, she's going to have to get you another pair. Tierra's 16 years old. She's a minor.
No, no.
Shh.
I'm sorry. Shh.
Tierra is 16 years old. She's a minor. I don't expect anything to come from her. I expect it to come from her parents. Her husband, Tyrone Walker, said the same thing to me. He told me he would make sure that, you know, I would get my belongings back.
Okay. So it's those 2 things. It's your boots and your earrings.
Yes.
Step up here. How did you come in possession of her earrings?
Okay. Well, she left them, so I picked them up.
She left them where?
At my house. So I picked them up, and I said, well, Sharon, you know, kept telling me that she was going to pay me for babysitting her baby for her. Okay, I babysat, and I babysat. She never gave me no money for babysitting except for 2 times. So I just said I'll take her earrings just in place, you know, just in place of the money. But I said I will return them when she gave me my money.
That's a lie.
Just a second. Who did you say that to? To you? To yourself?
I told my mom, and I told her boyfriend.
You picked up the earrings. What did you do with them when you picked them up?
Nothing. I put them up.
Put them up where?
On top of the refrigerator.
What'd you put them up on top of the refrigerator for?
Because she wasn't getting them back.
She wasn't getting them back?
Yes.
So you stole her earrings?
No, I did not steal them.
Oh, I'm telling you that you did. I'm telling you that you stole her earrings. If she owed you for babysitting, you have the perfect right to say, you didn't pay me the last time for babysitting, and I'm not going to babysit for you again until you pay me. You don't wait until, according to you, she owes you $450 for babysitting.
I said $330. I didn't say $450.
Well, I have a countersuit here for $450.
Well, they must have.
Shh. And that's made up nonsense and say, well, that's the reason that I took the earrings.
Excuse me, can I say something?
Yeah.
Sharon had told my daughter on several occasions that she would pay her money for watching her daughter. Okay, Tanisha agreed to it. Sharon knows that my daughter.
No, don't talk to each other.
Twice. She paid my daughter 2 times out of maybe, it was several times my daughter had
Just a
watched
second.
her daughter.
Listen to me. How many is several?
She had written it down. Okay, a total that she has gotten down so far was 9.
Okay.
2 different occasions Sharon paid her for watching her. The rest she did not. Only because my daughter being Tanisha, you know, nice and whatnot, she watched her child. She watched her child when her child was...
Is your last name Walker?
Yes, my last name is Walker.
And this is your daughter?
Yes. And she
Are you telling me, madam, that you are condoning as a parent who's trying to set an example for their children, your daughter taking property that didn't belong to her, hiding it in your house by putting it on top of the refrigerator.
No, I did not.
Fine. Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I don't want to hear from you. You're a liar. You are a liar. Liar. You're a liar. And your mother is encouraging you.
And later today,
You mean the child was removed from your custody? The child was removed
It was not removed. She abandoned him. She asked her brother to watch our son, and she left him.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sharon Mall Scott is suing Tiara and Tanisha Walker for stealing her boots and jewelry.
Let us say that I believe everything that you said so far, that your daughter babysat for her 9 times and was paid twice. Right? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
All right. And how much were you paid on the 2 times that you babysat?
Well, she only paid me $20
one time.
That was for one day.
Yes.
She paid me $10 the other time.
At the time that she paid you the $20, how long did you babysit for her?
Well, Marvin brought the baby over about 10, and she came to pick him up like around 7.
10 in the morning, and she came and picked baby up at 7 in the evening.
Mm-hmm.
And you babysat for $20 for that period of time.
Yes.
Now, the next time you said she gave you $10.
Mm-hmm.
So how many hours did you babysit at that time?
Well, that time, I said she paid me about $10 for 3 hours because I told her I would watch the baby while she go out and dance.
So let's say it's about $3 an hour. Now, the other 7 times that you say you babysat for her, tell me about them.
Okay, I babysit the baby 3 times. That was for a 1 week period.
What do you mean a 1 week period?
Okay, I babysit her for 1 week. 1 week.
What's a week? You mean for
Sunday
7
to
days you
Saturday? 7 days.
7 days?
Yes. I babysit her baby.
From what time to what time?
They brought the baby over on Friday. Came back the next Sunday.
You mean for a whole week they left the baby with who?
Yes, they did. Me.
With who?
Me.
Tell me about that.
That's a lie, Your Honor.
No, it's
My
not.
daughter right now was only 7 months. She hasn't babysat my daughter since, I say about 3-4 months now.
Did you ever leave the baby?
No, I did not.
You didn't let me finish the question. How could you answer the question if you didn't let me
Well,
finish?
I'm just saying, I did not. I never left my baby with a minor for a week.
Well, that's what I'm asking you.
Never.
Did you ever leave the baby with her for a week?
No, never.
Did you ever leave the baby for a couple of days?
No, never. I will always, if she watched my daughter, it would be a couple hours, time period of a couple hours, and I would go pick her up, or my husband would go pick her up.
Let me explain something to you. Tanisha?
Yes.
Your counter suit is for $450 for babysitting. That's what you filed.
I filed
According to
$330.
you, let's make it $330 then. So that's even less. According to you, at $3 an hour, which is what you would say you were paid the last time, you would have had to have babysat for her 110 hours. No way. Now listen to me, Miss Walker. I would suggest that you try to tell your daughters that if they have a dispute with someone, they do not resolve that dispute by self-help, which is what your daughter did. Your daughter took property, she stole it. She stole it, it didn't belong to her. She had no right to take it. Absolutely no right to take it. If she had a dispute with regard to babysitting, she always has a legal recourse.
I understand what you're saying. Good. And that's what I told my daughter. But she felt strongly about what she did and the reason for her doing that.
Did you explain to her strongly as her mother that that still wasn't appropriate?
And it wasn't appropriate of her not to pay my daughter either.
Just a second. Miss Walker?
Yes.
You got a problem, madam. Your problem is if your daughter believes strongly in the virtue of her position, you have to explain to her as her mother that whether she believes strongly in it or not, she's wrong. You don't take property that doesn't belong to you because she may have a dispute with your daughter. Put your hand down. I'm not finished with you yet because we're going to get back to the boots.
Your Honor. Also, Tanisha had 2 rings that belonged to me.
Just a second.
2 rings, a pair of earrings in my boots.
And what about, well, you're absolutely right. You have 2 rings?
Yes.
Who has rings?
I have them.
You have the rings too?
Well, she let me hold them.
And she never returned them.
Because what you did to my sneakers. That's why I didn't return them.
You also have her rings because of something she did to your sneakers?
Well, she let me hold them. She never asked me back. She never asked me.
Where are they?
I don't know. They lost.
Now, the rings I was willing to pay for.
Hey! What do you mean they're lost?
They're lost. I don't know where they at. I didn't wear them personally.
Now you. Why did you take her boots?
I didn't take her boots.
You were wearing her boots. It says here that you were wearing her
She
boots.
left them over my house, Your Honor. So I wore them when I left. But she never did ask me for them back. You never asked me for them back.
Just a second. Did you get back a pair of sneakers?
I had to go get them.
Just a minute. Did you get them back?
I did.
Did you return the rings?
The
yes
rings
or no?
Tanisha lost. I was going
just
to
a
give
second.
her.
I want
No,
you to
I
answer
didn't.
my question. Did you return the rings?
No, I didn't.
Did you return the boots?
No.
Did you return the earrings?
No.
Good. How much did you pay for the earrings, the rings, and the boots?
The earrings was $350. My 2 rings was $100 altogether, and my boots was $129.
Okay. You have receipts?
Yes, I do.
I don't want to hear from you. You're a liar. You are a liar. Among other things, you're lying
the
when you said
receipt
to
for my
me
jewelry.
that you lost the rings.
Well, I
Yeah,
didn't
no,
lose the rings.
liar. You're a liar.
I didn't.
And your mother is encouraging you.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Their mother is right now sowing the seeds of disaster with these 2 girls.
And later today,
What about the women who abuse guys financially, emotionally, every way they can, you know? And this snake right here has done that to me.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sharon Mall Scott is suing Tiara and Tanisha Walker for stealing her boots and jewelry.
So your entire suit is for $579. Is
Yes,
that correct? You don't straighten your girl. I'm just telling you this. You don't straighten your girls out fast. You're going to find yourself standing in court with them a lot.
Exactly.
A lot.
Mind your business.
Hey,
See?
shh, don't start up with them. Her mother, their mother, is right now sowing the seeds of disaster with these 2 girls. She's already getting payback time, big time, with this one who ran away.
7 times.
This one isn't far behind. Judgment is for the plaintiff in the amount of $579. Your counterclaim is dismissed because I don't believe a word you say.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
You better not go home.
Out the red.
And now the next case.
Parties on Malden versus Branch. Step forward, please.
37-year-old heavy equipment operator Ray Malden is suing his estranged wife, grocery clerk Catherine Branch, for stealing money orders. Catherine is countersuing Ray for taking all of their possessions.
This is not a very difficult case. I just have a few questions. Are you 2 people still married to each other?
Yes, we are. I filed papers for a divorce, and it's in default right now.
We both filed papers for divorce, and
Good.
we're
Well,
both
it's clear.
we're legally separated.
When did you separate?
First time, second time.
Second time.
Probably in October of '94.
Miss Branch, stop
Yes.
playing with your papers.
Oh, I'm sorry.
When did you separate for the last time?
For the last time, it was in 1997, I believe. It was in January of 97. I
Well,
filed papers for legal
I didn't ask you
separation.
when you filed. When did you last live together?
I have the date in my papers.
You
It was
don't
in
remember the
January.
year?
It was in January of 97, I believe.
He says 94. Did you live with him, according to you, in 97?
No.
Did you live with him?
Yes,
Ma'am.
I did.
Where?
No, I didn't. Excuse me, ma'am. I'm sorry. It was in 95. I apologize.
94, 95. All right. So now we
It's
understand.
in my papers. I
You don't have to look. Shouldn't have to look in your papers to know when the last time you lived with your husband was. And what year? 94, 95, 97. That's a wide spread. So you've been
I
separated for
apologize.
several years.
Several
Correct?
years. Yeah.
He says that when he was giving you a lift somewhere, he had just purchased 2 money orders. The amount of $350 apiece?
370, ma'am.
$370. And that you stole them from his car.
Yes, I did. I took the money orders.
But you had no right to do that.
No, I didn't.
So then you have to give him back the money. Good. And this is a very easy case.
I have a reason why I took the money orders, ma'am, Your Honor.
There's no reason for taking money. I mean, I read this, and it's, you know, you said he left you alone with a baby, and he didn't provide support, and he didn't do all these things. He didn't do all, that's what courts are for. That's why you take him to court. You take him to court for child support. You make sure that he pays it, because that's the child's right to be supported.
Yes, Your Honor.
But you don't resort to self-help.
Yeah.
That's stealing.
And
How
I
many
had
children
no-
do you have?
I have 2 beautiful boys by him.
Okay. You pay child support, sir?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
How much do you pay? You should know that as quickly as you know the date that you separated.
$196.85 a week. That's for one child. I just was ordered my first child
That is not
back
true.
into the home. The guardianship that was over my child has been terminated. It was terminated yesterday.
What do you mean the guardianship?
There was, because our marriage was so bad, ma'am, there was a guardianship placed over my first child.
You mean the child was removed from your custody?
The child was removed
He was
from
not removed. She abandoned him.
Just a second.
She abandoned him.
Whatever it was, the child was removed from your custody.
Yeah.
And the child by the state?
Yeah.
No,
By the courts.
not by the courts. She abandoned him. She asked her brother to watch our son, and she left him. And I could not get custody of him because of some technology, whatever it was, some things I couldn't do. Anyway, we went to court yesterday, and she did get custody of him. But there has not been any order made yet. And I am paying child support for my second son.
According to you, he's paid.
He's paying for alimony and for the child support for our second son. And on
Well, the first son wasn't with you. The first son was in placement.
No, I've been battling for my first son for the
I
last
don't care whether
5
you've been
years.
battling, you didn't have that child in your custody.
Yes, ma'am.
So he's been paying alimony, and he's been paying support for the second child.
Yes, he has.
Fine, you had absolutely no right to take this $370 in checks, and that's what it totaled, correct, sir?
$370, yes, ma'am.
$370.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I know her past life, her life now. And like I see, she ain't changed nothing. Ain't nothing changed about her except this fake facade she has everyone to believe.
Now, you're countersuing for $2,500 for some items that were purchased during the marriage that he now has. What is that nonsense?
That's all the items like the washers and dryers, the
That'll be handled.
couch.
Listen to me. That'll all be handled in your judgment of divorce.
That's what I thought.
That's what
and
it
that's what I
will be.
thought, that the $370 would be handled in that area.
No,
also.
that you stole. Judgment in this case is for the plaintiff in the amount of $370. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Versus Burgoon. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Have a seat.
Well, even with a road map, and after a long nap, I couldn't figure out what you two people are suing each other for. All I know is that the two of you decided to live together for a period of time. Each of you has a child. Is that right?
Correct.
How old are you?
I'm 19.
And how old's your child?
3.
Terrific. And how old are you?
I'm 20.
And how old's your child?
4.
Oh, what in America? Anyway, you decided to live together. It didn't work out, and each of you wants $5,000 from the other. That's the only thing that I could figure out. You're suing for $5,000, you're countersuing for $5,000. You have 5 minutes, I'm watching my clock, to explain to me why you're suing her for $5,000.
I'm suing Amber because when she asked me to move in with her, my agreement with her was the only way that I will move in with you is if Louis is not there. There is no drugs in the house. I do not want your dog there. I do not like dogs.
Louis is the boyfriend?
Yes, that is her boyfriend. She said, okay, he won't be there. The dog will be gone. And Mr. Lopez, the owner of the property, does know that you will be living here. Well, none of the above happened. She didn't let the landlord know that I was there. My mother spoke to the owner of the property, and he said, no, I did not know. There's 8 people living in a 3-bedroom house. Okay, the dog has attacked the mail lady and another mailman, a substitute. I told her, Amber, you know, it's not fair. We don't get our mail because of your dog. Take care of it. I told her, split the bills up evenly. She didn't. Her boyfriend was there 90% of the time. If it wasn't her boyfriend, it was her brother, 13 years old, not in school, watching TV, playing video games, eating the food. She didn't pay for any of the food. One time, $30. The rest of the food was bought by me. The electricity, I'm not paying for her boyfriend and her brother. She wants to divide it up evenly, divide it up by 8. Her brother, her daughter, her boyfriend, my daughter, me, and the other 2 roommates.
That's how it should be divided up. If she's charging for us, for her boyfriend to be there and her brother to be there, that's what I think.
Why didn't you move out?
I gave her my 30 days notice.
Just a minute, how long did you live there?
I lived there for a month.
So what are you suing her for?
Because she had broken my bedroom window trying to move her stuff, or her boyfriend's stuff, and because it was raining and the weather damage, she said she would get it fixed. As a landlord, she has to.
Why didn't you put a cardboard there?
I put up a piece of paper. She told me, take it down. I'm going to get it fixed today. She never got it fixed.
Just a second. You go into a store, you buy a piece of plastic, you put it up on the window. So what you're suing for is for damage that was done to some of your things because of the broken window.
Because of the weather.
Because of the weather.
Because the weather came in through the broken window.
Okay. So that's what you're suing her for?
Yes.
Okay. And what was damaged?
My VCR. I have a statement, an estimate from the company.
You have a VCR,
for
what else?
$99, brand new, I just got for Christmas.
Okay. And what else?
And my TV. The TV, they said, unfortunately, there was nothing wrong with it. It had dried out. The moisture had dried out. $114, it says on here.
$114. So where do you get $5,000 from? Well, that's a nice round number. Now, what are you suing her for?
I'm basically suing her for the money she owes me for what she didn't pay rent. She put a stop payment on the check. She did beat me up in my own home, in my hallway. She and her mother have assaulted my boyfriend. My boyfriend was not there. You know, that was not the great.
Tell me,
my dog
what are
was
you
there.
suing her for?
I'm just suing her, you know, to protect myself. My property was damaged. I had to pay for that when I move in. I'm forced to move out of my home.
That's
A
what I want.
restraining order against her.
Tell
for
me
3
about the
years.
assault, madam.
The assault, she assaulted my boyfriend.
I don't care about your boyfriend.
Okay, she assaulted me when a friend of hers came over. I did not know it was a friend of hers. I opened the door, and, you know, somebody was knocking on my door. I opened it. There's a girl standing there, and she comes walking into my house. She comes out of the bedroom, and I say, you know, I turn around to her, I say, I hope you don't have any plans to spend the night. Because we've been going through a lot of problems in the house with Valerie, you know, and yelling and screaming at everybody.
So you said, I hope she doesn't plan on staying through the night. And what
Right, I
happened?
told her, I said, I hope you don't have plans on staying the night here. And she goes, yes, she is, and started cussing at me and F you, Amber, you know. And I said, well, I just want to tell you that I'm going to pay your half of the gas bill, you know, for my boyfriend taking showers, my brother taking showers. I pay your half of the gas bill, you know, for my boyfriend taking showers, my brother taking showers. I pay your half of the gas bill, you know, for my boyfriend taking showers, my brother taking showers. On my face, I kicked the bottom of the door once, and I said, look, don't slam the door, I'm trying to talk to you. She came out with full fists, pinned me in a corner in my hallway, and started hitting me and pulling my hair and kicking me, and it took 3 people to pull her off of me.
You have medical bills?
Yes, I do.
Let me see them. You want to tell me about this assault incident?
Your Honor, my best friend, she's right here, came over because we were going over to some boy's house that night. She came, she knocked on the door, said to her daughter, oh, she's so cute. Is that your daughter? How old is she?
Hi, Judy. My name is Marilyn Embry. I'm a friend of Valerie's. I came over to her house. It's been the second time I came over there. I didn't know the problem was that bad between the two of them. I knocked on the door. She was kind of rude when she opened the door. I said, hi, is Valerie here? She said, yes, she is. And I said, oh, is that your daughter? She's really cute. She didn't respond to me. Valerie came outside. I did have an overnight bag.
Stop playing with the papers, please.
I had really cute. She didn't respond to me. Valerie came outside. I did have an overnight bag.
Stop playing with the papers, please.
I had an overnight bag, but I had no intentions on spending the night. I thought maybe because we were going to come back late. I didn't know it was going to be that big of a deal. Well, she said, I hope you don't plan on spending the night. Valerie says, yes, she is, and I don't think I need to talk about this with you anymore. Her and I walked down the hallway into her bedroom. She was still yelling, and Valerie's yelling back, I don't want to hear it, I don't want to hear it. We go into her room. She shuts the door and locks it. She's still screaming, don't effing slam the door in my face. She kicks the door maybe once or twice. I really don't know how many times. Valerie opens the door because she thought the door was going to break. I thought the door was going to break. Well, her daughter's standing right next to her the whole time she's doing all this, and she's a little girl. We opened the door. She pushed Valerie. Valerie pushed her back. They both started fighting. It was mutual. Yes, Valerie was hitting her more times than she was hitting her, but I mean, we assumed that she was really going to hurt Valerie. She came to the door and kicked the door. I started pulling them apart, and then her little brother came out, and I just kept trying to break it up, and then the rest of the roommates came out, but she didn't want to attack her or anything.
What you're saying was she came to the
I
door.
saw it,
She
yeah.
came to the door. She kicked at the door. When she opened the door, she
Yeah.
pushed her first. She
Right.
pushed her back. and they started to fight.
Right.
And she was punching her more than she was getting punched.
Well,
Judge, that's what you just said?
Yes.
That doesn't make any difference.
You're right.
Who was winning the fight doesn't make any difference.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
She's quite responsible.
Oh, yes.
And later today,
Everybody is out to make a buck on somebody else's sorrow, sadness, hopes, dreams, aspirations. Yours is one of the worst kind.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Valerie Ricker says her former roommate, Amber Burgoon, damaged her home and property. Amber says Valerie assaulted her.
What else are you suing her for?
That is all.
Good. It's easy. Does it look?
I have something to add to it, if I might, please.
About what?
About the situation with the altercations, the trouble with Valerie.
What's the difference of the trouble with Valerie? Madam, you're her mother?
Yes, I am.
Why wasn't she living with you and your grandchild?
Because she's an adult and she can
She's not an
take
adult.
her own way.
She's not an adult. She's a teenager with a 3-year-old child.
She's quite responsible.
Oh, yes. Who do you work for?
I work for Vaughn's.
And you make enough money to take care of you and your child?
Yes, I do.
Really?
Yes,
She's
I do.
on aid.
Yes, I also am on aid.
So you get welfare?
I'm on aid, plus I work because my child's father does not want to
Just a
support
second.
her.
Just a second. You get welfare and you work at Vaughn's,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
And you think that that's totally responsible. That's why she's a mature adult. That's why she's not living with you with her grandchild. So you allowed your grandchild to go and live in a house where there were 8 other people living.
No, there was not 8 other people
Huh? There wasn't
living there at
supposed
the
to be 8
time.
people.
See, that's what...
Just a second. How many times did you go over there to see the living conditions?
Numerous times. Every day I was there.
Well, if you were living there and your daughter is telling you that there were 8 people living in this house and a vicious dog, why didn't you take your daughter and your grandson after a day and say this is not an appropriate place for you to live?
We did.
And should she come home?
Yes, I
Yes,
did.
No, she didn't. She said she stayed there for a month.
in my house after the point.
She said she stayed there for a month. So I don't see the reason for a lawsuit. I don't see where you get $5,000. I don't see where you get $5,000. You tried living together. It didn't work out. You went home to your parents, correct? Goodbye.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
And now the next case.
Parties on Bartnoff versus Talon. Step forward, please.
40-year-old salesperson Barbara Bartnoff claims matchmaker Linda Talon scammed her by charging for photos and falsely promising dating services. Linda says Barbara was never guaranteed a date.
Ms. Bartnoff, you were interested in meeting some nice gentlemen.
Correct.
And how did you find the defendant's service?
In a magazine, it's called The Journal,
Can I
which circulates all over Los Angeles.
Do you have the ad?
Yes, I do.
I'd like to take a look at it. Now, why don't you tell me what happened when you responded to this ad?
Well, when I called up Ultimate Encounters, as described as it states in her magazine advertisement that the service is free for women. So I called her up and she gave me the pitch over the phone, how she has thousands of men inside her catalog, and you know, they're all professional, they earn well over $100K, and she invited me down to her home, and she works out of her living room, which is located in Redondo Beach, and I went down there and she described me her service and how she has years of experience of psychology and sociology, and how she's must have set up, you know, 90%, anyway.
Wonderful, and it wasn't going to cost you anything because the men pay.
Well, when she told me the service for women was free, however, you have to pay a fee of only $165 to have your photographs taken at her photography studio located in Hollywood. And you don't have the option of going to your own service, you have to go to hers. You don't even have the option of bringing in your own photographs.
Did you at any time ask then how she made a living? I mean, how does she make her money?
What she does is that she contacts all these men that she has in her catalog, tells them about our profile and background. If they like what they hear, then they go down to her house, review our photographs, then they instruct her, I want to meet this woman, that woman, this woman, and then she contacts the women and said, this guy wants to meet you, this guy wants to meet you, this guy wants to meet you.
That sounds all very nice. How do you make your living? Do you charge the men?
Yes, Your Honor. Depending on how long they join, Your Honor, they pay anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000.
Depending on how long they join, Your Honor, they pay anywhere between $2,000 and $5,000, depending on the length of the membership, depending on the amount of guaranteed introductions they receive. The women pay absolutely no membership fee whatsoever. Period.
So let me figure this out. So you went down and took your photographs.
Correct.
And paid the $165.
Correct.
And nothing happened.
Correct.
Didn't get a call.
I got nothing from her. Every single month I called her and I go, hey, what's up? What's going on? Anything yet? And finally, after the 4th or 5th month, I finally got her on the phone because every time I called her, I always got her machine.
And she said you weren't picked.
Well, because every time I called her, I always got her machine.
And she said you weren't picked.
Well,
in effect, that's what she said. I mean, I'm not being unkind to you, right?
Right.
That's what she said to you.
Well, she said a little bit more than that.
Well, I'd like to hear what she said.
She goes, well, I asked her, hey, Linda, what's going on? It's been 4 or 5 months. You know, you gave me the impression that you were going to set me up with all these guys, you know. And she said to me, listen, had you read your contract, the service fee was free. I work for the men who paid me a service fee of $5,000, and had you paid me $5,000, I would get off my butt tomorrow and start look for someone for you. And I would get off my butt tomorrow and start look for someone for you. And why don't you on me? You know, and I'm just going, real nice woman. So I called her back up. I go, Linda, listen to me. All I want to know, how many men did you potentially introduce me to?
What did you call it back for?
Well, I was just kind of curious. Did you potentially introduce me to?
What did you call it back for?
Well, I was just kind of curious. How many men did she present me to?
Yeah.
1, 2, 5, 50?
I don't want to hear you anymore. I really don't want to hear you anymore.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
That, madam, is a kickback. Do you tell them you're getting a kickback
No,
from the
I do
photographer?
not.
Good.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Barbara Bartnoff says she was never called for a date. Now she wants matchmaker Linda Talon to return the money she spent on photos for the dating service.
How many women like this paid you $165 to have their photographs taken?
I've been in business for over 6 years. This is the first time this has ever happened.
Well, maybe because the other ones were embarrassed.
I would say probably 500.
Why did you need a certain photographer to take the pictures?
The way that I do that is because when the men review the files, they're very visual. I can guarantee they have not been airbrushed or retouched. They feel comfortable when they go and meet the women for dinner, that they will not look different. They will not be disappointed.
Well, listen, just a second. We may talk a good game. I guarantee you on your best day, you're not as smart as I am. You are seeing the product in your office. If the product comes in, the lady product, you don't mind if I refer you to, for the purposes of this argument, as a product, you can see what they look like. And if they bring you a photograph and say, well, here are my photographs, and you look at it and say, babe, this is airbrushed, or this looks like you when you were 12, can we get some more updated pictures? They can go out and do that. So that's the assurance that you need because you're meeting the person. She came to your home/office. So why does she have to take pictures for $165?
I just explained to you so the men feel...
Baloney! Because what you're saying to the men is, I've seen this person. They come to your home/office and they look at the photographs, and what you're saying is, I have seen this person, and this photograph is a fair and accurate representation of what they look like. I wouldn't allow a photograph to be placed in here of somebody that's 10 years old. So you're a scam artist because you're using this photography business as a way of making money.
I disagree.
Your service, oh no, you don't have to be a genius to figure that out. Cost her $165 and she got absolutely nothing from it. She's perfectly attractive, upbeat kind of gal. People wouldn't know that she's an upbeat kind of gal from a photograph, but she's certainly a perfectly attractive lady. She spent $165 and got absolutely nothing from you because, as far as I'm concerned, you're operating a scam.
Can I interject, Your Honor?
Yes.
Charges $3,000 with 0 guarantees, and they make you go to that one photographer for $250, like it or not, no guarantees. And I personally got married through them.
Well, I want to tell you something.
So they do the same routine. So
I
what
want
I'm
to tell
doing...
you something. Just because one company is scamming for $250 and one company is scamming for $165, that doesn't make it right. That doesn't make it right. And I'm not even going to ask you how much of that $165 ends up in your pocket. Because I don't like people to commit perjury. Dear.
Your Honor, there were no guarantees
Did you hear what I said? You want me to ask you the question? How much of that $165 ends up in your pocket?
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Miss Talon, how much of that $165 ends up in your pocket?
Very little.
Ha! Very little ain't nothing. So what you said is a free service is not a free
membership. Free membership.
God, Miss Talon, you know, everybody is out to make a buck on somebody else's sorrow, sadness, hopes, dreams, aspirations. Yours is one of the worst kind. And the other companies that you talk about who do the same thing are also among the worst because they're taking people who are really looking to make a life for themselves who say, I want this. And whether it's your place, great hopes, great dreams, whatever else they are, they're saying, pay us $165, pay us $250, there's no membership fee, just go, or $20 or $50 of $165. I'm not asking you that question because it's really not important how much you get. You've already told me you get very little, which means you get something. That, madam, is a kickback. Do you tell them that? Do you tell them you're getting a kickback from the photographer? Good. Tell them that? Do you tell them you're getting a kickback from the photographer? Good. $165. That's what you're suing for. That's what you get. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out. You on the calendar in the matter of Haskett versus Woolfolk. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Ladies, have seats.
All right, Mr. and Mrs. Haskett, you are alleging that the defendant, who I assume is a neighbor of yours, has defamed you by sending out a series of letters about you to neighbors and one to an employer. Do you have copies of those letters?
I certainly do.
May I see them, please? Did you write this letter?
Yes, I did, Your Honor.
And who did you circulate it to?
Only to the tenants in the park and the people that CC'd on there. No employers. That's not true.
Mm-hmm. Well, there are a lot of things in this letter. It's sort of a rambling letter. But there are several things in here that I want to address specifically. Show me proof of arrests for driving while under the influence of alcohol.
I can't show you proof of that. It's something that she...
No, did she... Just a second. Did you have any written proof that she or her husband have arrests...
I didn't say her husband. I said she specifically.
She has arrests for driving under the influence.
No, this was something that she told me
She
specifically.
has arrests for driving under the influence.
No, this was something that she told me. If it's a lie, she told it.
Did you ever tell her that you were arrested for
Yes,
driving?
sir, I did.
Why did you tell her that?
Okay, because...
Was it true? Why did you tell her that?
Okay, because...
Was it true?
Oh, yeah, it's true.
Okay.
But that's my business.
Just a second. Loss of custody of her child. Welfare fraud.
Again?
Welfare fraud.
Again, something she admitted to?
That's not true.
Oh, no. Oh, no.
This is something she admitted to. I have witnesses to that, too, Your Honor.
Yeah, oh, no, I never committed fraud.
Just a second.
Oh, no.
Eviction after eviction the last several years.
Okay, can I tell you why some of these things I know? Over the past few years, I worked legal at some time, and they were thinking about having me do a bankruptcy for them, okay? And this is all the information that came out during that time when they were trying to tell me about their bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miss Woolfolk, I have a couple of questions. I mean, they're...
Tell me about their bankruptcy.
Yeah.
Okay.
Miss Woolfolk, I have a couple of questions. I mean, there are a lot of things in this letter that suggest that you people don't get along as neighbors.
Don't at all. You're right.
And that you intend to pursue this matter legally, and that, according to the letter, you are trying to get a restraining order against the plaintiffs. Just pay attention. You are trying to get a restraining order against them to stay away from you and your property.
Exactly.
And I assume that the thrust of this letter, you say, which brings me to the focal point of this letter, that you are trying to get a restraining order and request the assistance of, I assume, all the people that you sent this letter to. Should you see either one of these two people in or near my property, please call 911.
That's correct.
Right?
Continued harassment.
Just a second.
Intimidation.
So my question to you is, what do the following things have to do with you? DUI arrests, loss of custody of her child, welfare fraud, eviction.
What did they have to do with me personally?
Yes.
Or the sale.
Shut up.
Okay. They had, personally, they had nothing to do with me.
Good. So what do they have to do with the focal point of this letter?
The focal point of the letter was to say these people are intimidating me, these people
Well,
are harassing me.
You've said that.
That these people are accusing me of calling a social worker. Did you read that part?
No.
They're accusing me of turning them into welfare fraud.
No, listen to me. I'm not addressing that.
Okay.
I'm looking at this letter, and you say that they have done and said a lot of very hurtful things, hurtful and harassing things to you.
Yes, that's true.
None of which is germane to any of these acts that you attribute to them. The DUI arrests, the loss of custody, welfare fraud, anything else. That doesn't have anything to do with what you're complaining about. So you gratuitously put that in this letter.
No, that's
sure I understand what you're saying. I think you're full of baloney.
Yeah.
I think that you put this in the letter just to embarrass them. Sure, I understand what you're saying. I think you're full of baloney.
Yeah.
I think that you put this in the letter just to embarrass them.
Well, she needs to be embarrassed.
No, just to...
You know, I wanted to keep her from intimidating me anymore. I wanted to stop her from harassing me. She stayed in the house 3 weeks, and that was fine with me.
Now, just a second.
She should have been embarrassed.
Hey.
I was.
Hey.
Humiliated, embarrassed.
Hey, just a second. You want to say something? You're dying to say something.
Yes, I am.
Well, stand up.
That's not true, Your Honor.
What's not true?
This woman is harassing her.
I haven't gotten to that yet.
Okay, well.
Just a second. I'm talking about this letter. That's what I'm talking about. That's the first thing. I'm talking about this letter. That's what I'm talking about. That's the first thing I'm addressing. I'm going to address everybody's complaint. I'm addressing this letter. And I absolutely understand that if any of this is true, it's conduct that should not be tolerated. If any of this harassment is true, it should not be tolerated.
Right.
What I'm addressing is the gratuitous,
She said I shouldn't have said that.
gratuitous statements in here about them that had absolutely nothing to do with the problem of harassment. You got it? Do you understand?
That. I understand.
Good.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I wrote the letter in November. This recording was made January the 15th.
I've read the you wrote. Carol, watch your back.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeff and Lori Haskett are suing Carol Woolfolk for defaming them to their neighbors. Carol claims the Hasketts make discriminating remarks against her.
You have a counterclaim.
Yes, I do.
You have typewriter estimate, $150.
Correct. That's the typewriter that they've had since November the 7th.
How did they get the typewriter, Miss Woolfolk?
They came over. She came over first and asked me to loan it to her. I have two.
I didn't. Shut up!
Lie. I'm sorry. Okay, I told her no. So, of course, he comes. Jeff, I never have a problem with. Never have. It's her. Jeff asked. I said, Jeff, how long you want to use it? A week? Fine. Time went by. Jeff, you going to bring it back? Yeah, I'll bring it back. Didn't show up. When is he going to bring the typewriter back? When they feel like it. This was her. This is when she came to my house, knocked on my door, cussed me out, told me she was not giving me the typewriter back. I was all these slanderous things. She scratched my car with her keys and then ran home with her daughter.
Okay, now let me stop you right there.
Okay?
Okay, let me stop you right there. I assume, Miss Woolfolk, from what you say, there was a time when You had a reasonable relationship enough with these people so that you just listen.
Okay.
You had a reasonable enough relationship with them or with him.
With him, yeah.
To lend him your property, a piece of valuable property.
Exactly.
What happened?
How can I put this delicate? It's not him, okay? If it was him, I would have got the typewriter back. It's been gone since November 7th. This is January.
Okay, but is that what caused the problem, the typewriter?
Yeah, that was her. She wouldn't return it.
Just a second. Is that what caused the problem, the typewriter?
Yeah, right.
Okay.
She cussed me out over a typewriter.
Okay. Now, would you please take the typewriter from that side and put it on that side?
No, you leave it over there. I don't want it back. I replaced it since November because it's something I used.
Let me see the receipt for the replacement.
They've had it since November. I use it to do like evictions and things like that.
Shh. Hey.
You don't know what I have.
Hey. This is an estimate of repairs.
Yeah, because I bought a used
dated
one.
1/28/97.
I wouldn't got that today. Yes.
You got it today?
Yeah, I got it today.
Return the typewriter to her. Just a second. Let us move on. Let us move on. Loss of wages, $1,800. And you say loss of wages for what, Ms.
Because they took me to court for this frivolous lawsuit.
Which frivolous lawsuit?
This one that we have here. This one here where it all started over typewriter where they could have returned it, you know, and the thing would have been gone away. This walking down the driveway calling me all these MF, you know, I don't have to take that.
Who's they? Who's
you know,
they?
Her, not they.
Not
her.
her.
Her specifically.
Okay.
Her specifically.
Just tell me white trash.
And then,
wait a second. Miss Haskett, did you ever say those words?
No. No, I didn't.
No. Well, you were, just a second. You were going to say to me, no, I never said them in front of my daughter. That's what you were going to say, right?
Right.
Just a second.
White trash. That's what she called me, white trash. My kid heard it, too.
That's not.
All they do is pick on my kid.
That's not my style.
Can't even play outside because of you guys. Because you go out and you call
Can
me
you ask
broken
me,
is?
Miss Haskett, I want you to answer a question for me, madam. Why didn't you return the typewriter?
You owed us money.
No!
Not you. Because we paid her $20 to do a bankruptcy in January of the year before.
Just a second. You paid her You paid her $20 in January of. You paid her $20 in January of 19. You paid her $20 in January of 1997 to do a bankruptcy for you. Slowly. And then what happened?
She never did it.
So, she never did the bankruptcy for you for $20. Hey!
I'm sorry.
I want you to be quiet.
I'm quiet.
So you borrowed her typewriter. You did.
Yes, ma'am.
And I'm still waiting for you to tell me why you didn't return the typewriter.
Because she never finished the bankruptcy.
So you decided to keep her typewriter. And that's what all this trouble started over. Come. Because if this lady was supposed to do something for you and you paid her $20, come. Because if this lady was supposed to do something for you and you paid her $20 and she didn't do it, you had several choices. You could have either written it off. You could have written she didn't do it. You had several choices. You could have either written it off. You could have written her a letter. And you could have said, I want my $20 back.
We did.
And if she didn't give it to you, you could have sued her. But what you chose to do is take her very expensive machine and keep it. According to your wife, sir, unless you're calling your wife a liar.
No, but
You're calling your wife a liar?
No, I'm not.
Well, that's what she says. She says she kept.
Sentence.
What?
I'd like to finish what I was going to say.
Go ahead.
This $150 typewriters of hers, she kept outside in the yard.
rain.
It was an extra. It was rusty. It never.
What does that have to do with you? Whether she keeps it outside, whether she keeps it hanging from her. What does that have to do with you? Whether she keeps it outside, whether she keeps it hanging from her tree, whether she wants to wear it as a lorgnette around her neck. It's her typewriter. She can do whatever she wants with it. You went over and borrowed it.
Bingo.
You went over and borrowed it.
Bingo.
Don't irritate.
I'm sorry.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
You cannot prove without a voice expert Listen, I'm certainly not
I'll
a
gladly
voice
bring my
expert.
phone bill and that'll prove it too.
Do I look like I need help from you?
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Jeff and Lori Haskett say their neighbor, Carol Woolfolk, slandered them. Carol says they harassed her.
It was very, very wrong of you to write this letter. Because it's not right to divulge things that have been told you in some sort of a confidence.
It wasn't a confidence.
Sure it was. You just
No, they
told
knew.
No, listen to me.
Everybody knew.
Hey, I'm really smart.
Okay.
All right? You just told me 5 minutes ago, and my memory is totally intact, that you found out certain of this information when you were
eviction.
preparing their bankruptcy. So that was told to you in what we call a fiduciary relationship, which means you were preparing papers for them and you found out certain information.
Can I say something?
Nothing. You have to acknowledge that it was the wrong thing to do to put that thing in this letter.
When you're angry, maybe sometimes you do wrong things.
That's
Okay.
right. So you were angry.
Okay. Yeah.
That's what the officer told her to do. She called
Well, he
Gardena.
didn't, yeah, he didn't tell me specifically to do that.
Of course she did. Why don't you just sit down?
But he did
Hey,
tell me to write the letter.
Hey, why don't you just sit down?
But he did tell me to write the letter to stop the intimidation and harassment.
Listen,
He suggested.
I said to you, there's nothing wrong with
Yeah,
writing the
exactly.
letter. The problem was the other things that you put in the letter. That
Yeah, you know, you're angry. You're angry. You've been
Does
wrong.
he have doing
You know,
criminal activities,
people.
like selling food stamps?
Hey,
she bought them.
Listen.
You're a liar.
Listen to me. Listen to me. You don't come into court, sir, with clean hands. Neither you nor your wife. You know what that means? It means that you started this problem. She reacted to it, but you started it. And you started this because you did the wrong thing. Now, you say that you have received death threats.
Yep.
And you wanted me to hear, I assume, something on that tape recorder.
People up front. I've read the you wrote.
In a letter.
You are not going to get enough until we cut through that brilliant. Carol, watch your back.
Does that sound like my voice?
141.
We didn't do it. Prove it. Go
Let's
to the phone
tape my
company, prove
voice
it.
on there right now.
That's why
and
I'm
see
Holy
what it
Bible. I
sounds
didn't do
like.
it. We are not that dumb. We took it to court.
I wrote the letter in November. This recording was made January the 15th.
Doesn't matter.
Which means everyone in the park had a copy of that letter and had gone on, like about the typewriter. Actually, Your Honor, I forgot about it. They could have kept it. I had another one that I was using. Life goes on.
Miss Woolfolk, I am presented with a really serious problem in this case. Each of you is suing the other for $5,000. You cannot prove without a voice expert, because I'm certainly not
I'll
a voice
gladly
expert.
bring my phone bill and that'll prove it too.
You could have called for
Watch
more.
just a second. Do I look like I need help from you?
Sorry.
You cannot prove without a voice expert
That's true.
that this recording, as disgusting as it is
Yeah.
made by anybody standing on that side of the table.
I cannot prove that. You're
Right? So what I have here is a situation where these people started a problem. They started a problem by taking your property and not returning it. Clearly wrong. I absolutely believe, because she says it, that she called you vicious names, she says, in front of her daughter. So that makes it okay.
Oh
Hey.
my, that's not true. I'm sorry.
Could you speak,
Oh,
please?
just
That
a
is
second.
not true.
Is that true, Kara?
That is not true.
Just a second.
That is not true.
You're not even listening.
I am.
What I don't.
That's not
what
true.
What's you mean?
That is not true.
I told you to sit down.
Yeah, well, I'm just.
I told
that's
you
not
to
true.
sit down. Do you understand
That's
what I
not
said? Because
true.
this lady is not wrapped too tight
Yeah.
because she doesn't understand
Yeah,
what
I'm
I
not
said.
wrapped too tight.
You
That's
said-
not true.
Put her out.
Ma'am, step out. Oh, this way.
I don't care.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Now, Mr. and Mrs. Haskett, you want $5,000?
Yes, ma'am.
You get $5. That's what you're going to get. You started this problem, and that's what you're going to get, $5, which, madam, you are going to have to pay them. Do you understand? $5.
So I get harassed and I get
Just a
nothing.
second.
Okay.
Just a second. Now, you have a counterclaim.
That's right.
And she has acknowledged that she called you names which are terrible.
Made life uncomfortable.
Made life uncomfortable.
Not as uncomfortable as you're making it for my daughter.
And you have a legitimate complaint against them. So I am awarding you on your counterclaim $5. You understand? You people had better stop torturing each other. You did the absolute wrong thing. She did the wrong thing by circulating those things in that letter against you. She did the wrong thing. She acknowledges she did the wrong thing.
Yeah,
she says she was angry. Yeah. She was angry because of the way you were treating her. And you were treating her in a miserable way, considering the fact that you started all the trouble over this stupid machine.
Don't work.
See? It don't work.
We each have a judgment for $5 against the other. Thank you very much. This case is over.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Yeah, that's fine.
We have Greg versus Allison. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated.
Miss Gregg, this was your boyfriend?
Yes, it was.
For how long?
Around 2 years.
Did you live together?
Yes.
You have any children?
Yes, we do.
How many?
1.
How old?
14 months.
How old are you?
19.
And how old were you when the baby was born?
18.
What kind of work do you do?
Assembly work.
How old are you?
20.
So you got into some big fights in the house, is that right?
He was the one always starting fights. He always used to break everything in my house. And he owes me a lot more than what I'm suing him for, but I didn't think I would have a good chance because the only proof I got is a radio that he had given to me after he broke my new one.
Well, so let me understand this. Because your complaint says he broke your radio.
Yes.
He says, I did. Why did you break her radio?
I was off. You know what I mean?
Didn't you know how to say that another way?
I was off, though.
Wait. All right. So you broke her radio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But you bought her a new one.
Well, I got it off my brother. My brother gave it to me, and I gave it to her.
So you have a radio.
I can show it to you. It was all, first of all, it doesn't rewind. It eats up your tapes. It gets only 2 stations.
No, it works. You can plug it in right now. I'm trying to tell you.
Did you throw a telephone of his out the window?
It was a TV, but
A TV, excuse me.
I had a console, but I'm dropping that because I ain't worried about the $300 or whatever it was.
Did she throw your TV out the window?
Yeah.
Why?
I don't know. I guess she was mad because I didn't go home or something.
Excuse me, Your Honor, but I can't pick up a $300 TV. It's in his mother's house, and he probably watches it every day. And he probably watches it every day. And he
what did you throw out the window?
I've never threw anything of his out the window.
My CDs,
I was scared of him, for one
TV,
thing. I couldn't throw anything of his out the window.
All my stuff.
He's broken my kitchen set. He's broken glass tables. He's broken through my window.
She's bugging. I never broken her house.
Miss Gregg, how long did you know him before you decided to have his baby?
It was my mistake, and I understand
How long
that.
did you know him?
It was about a week.
No.
And then,
no.
And then she was like, yeah.
How long did you know him?
Around 9 months.
It was like a week, but she got pregnant in like 9 months.
It only takes 9 months to have a baby.
Yeah, I'm saying, but after like a week, she was like, oh, don't use no condoms, whatever. I was like, nah, I want to use condoms. And
First of all, I wouldn't. I'm sorry.
And she was like, nah, we ain't going to do nothing if you use condoms. So I was like, all right, then.
Ay, 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 ay. Mr. Allison.
Yeah.
I'm going to suggest to you, sir, you're 20 years old.
Yeah.
There are ways of expressing yourself in a court or in most other civilized locations that don't involve using 4-letter words.
All right, I'm sorry about that.
Do you understand?
Yes.
You go to church ever?
I used to go to church.
I mean, would you use these words when you were talking to your priest?
Nope.
Because you knew enough not to do that, right?
I was young, too. I was like...
So you mean you got older and dumber?
No.
You mean when you were younger, you were smarter?
Why are you going to be dumb?
Well,
You know what
because
I
if
mean?
you were younger, you said you knew not to talk to your priest and
I never
talk.
talked to the priest, really. I just went to Sunday school, for 3 weeks. That's it.
Oy.
Then you got kicked out.
All right. You want a new radio?
Yes.
Give him back the one he gave you.
You want to keep this radio?
No, I don't.
She doesn't want that radio, Mr. Allison.
It's not
She
wrong
wants a
with
new radio. And she's suing you for $120 for the new radio. Wish I could give her $120 for a new radio and give myself $500 having to suffer here listening to your language. You have a child. Boy or a girl?
Little girl.
Do you visit with her?
Well, I seen her yesterday. That's it, though, for a while.
You're going to try to be a good father?
Yeah, I'm going to school in the fall, and I got a job right now.
You wouldn't want your daughter to grow up listening to that language that you use, would you?
Nope.
Excuse me, but he swears all the time in front of her. So if he didn't want her to grow up listening to that, he wouldn't do that in front of her.
Well, you're absolutely right.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
One thing I'm really pleased about is that you have intention of going back to school. Maybe you can learn something. Maybe.
And later today,
The only way she has to check, sir, is if she takes you to court. So this is a very foolish thing to have. Very stupid.
real cases, real people. Judge Judy. 19-year-old Kimberly Gregg claims 20-year-old Jordan Allison, the father of her child, smashed her radio. Jordan says Kimberly threw his television out the window.
So the two of you, who had absolutely no business making a child, made a child, and neither one of
Why
you...
didn't we have any business? We used to love each other.
Because you made this child, sir, when you were 18 years old?
It doesn't matter.
Oh. I don't have enough hours in the day to get through to you, sir. But I certainly hope one thing. One thing I'm really pleased about is that you have intention of going back to school. Maybe. Just maybe. You can learn something. Maybe.
What are you trying to say? I don't know nothing now. Right.
$120 for you. Buy yourself a new radio. That's all.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
I'll pay child support. I'll see my daughter, but I ain't being with her no more.
That's why you call me up
I
all
don't
the
call
time.
you. You're crazy. You're crazy.
Oh, all right. I
This
got
girl's
messages
crazy.
to prove it.
All right.
I ain't even gonna
the
pull his
messages.
card, but he knows what I'm talking about.
Okay, whatever.
And now the next case.
Parties on Basler versus Cora. Step forward, please.
29-year-old blackjack dealer Michelle Bassler is suing her ex-husband, graphic artist Peter Cora, 32, for not paying his share of their federal income taxes. Peter is countersuing his ex-wife for harassment.
Miss Bassler, you and the defendant were married and divorced. Correct. And pursuant to your judgment of divorce, according to the defendant, he says that you were supposed to share the marital debts. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And then you get a statement from the Internal Revenue Service saying that you were both deficient in paying income tax for a year while you were married, and they took your whole refund to satisfy that deficiency. Is that correct?
Yes, Your Honor.
And that was a joint debt?
Yes.
So you say he should be responsible for at least half.
Your Honor, a statement came to me from the IRS stating that almost $1,100 went to paying his Social Security.
His Social Security?
Number, not my number. The only reason why I was responsible is because I was married to him at the time and we had filed jointly for 1994 taxes.
Were you working in 1994?
No.
In the year that was filed? You were not?
No, I was not.
What kind of work was your husband doing at that time?
He is self-employed.
You have children together?
Yes, we do, Your Honor.
How many children?
One.
How old is that child?
He just turned 5.
So you were staying home with him when he was young?
Yes, I did.
So how much did they take altogether?
They took $1,089.30.
Can I see, please, your judgment of divorce?
Sure.
Here you go.
What kind of business are you in, sir?
I do graphic arts and printing.
Now, Miss Bassler, this judgment's divorce is clear. It says that the plaintiff, that's him, shall be responsible for 1/2 of various community debts, including Sears, Sizes Unlimited, Broadway, Phone Company, and IRS for 1994 taxes, among other things. Defendant shall be responsible for 1/2 of the community debts and the debt against the 1988 Mercury. This divorce judgment was in 95, was filed in 95. Clearly this says that you're responsible for half.
Correct.
Okay. That means you're responsible for half.
Correct.
Good.
We're equally responsible for half of all community debts. And I spent over $3,000 in community debt. And I figured she didn't have a job when we were divorced. And I wanted to just, try to be fair. I paid him. I figured eventually one day down the road, it'll all wash out.
Okay.
The first penny taken from her, she blows up.
Okay. So let's see. Plaintiff, that's you. Sears bill. I'm going through each one of them. Let me see what you paid to Sears.
Your Honor, I have a $22 check for Sears that I don't have a copy of, but that was all that I paid
$22 to Sears. Sizes Unlimited.
$150.34.
$150. So I'm going to give you credit for half of that. Sizes Unlimited. That was your bill?
Yes.
$75. What's next? Broadway.
Total for Broadway was $198.86.
Let's make it an even 200 because I'm so poor in math. Is that all right with you?
Yes.
Half. You get credit for $100, sir. I assume you have receipts for all these things that you paid.
Canceled checks, yes, Your Honor.
Good. So in total, sir, instead of these thousands of dollars that you're talking about, you got $175 that I'm going to give you credit for because that's what the divorce decree says.
Okay.
Right?
Fine. In the judgment, it also stated that we were to share in the payment of her father's house, which I paid a payment of $1,045, and that was the only payment made.
Just a second. Okay, both parties shall be equally responsible for the defendant, that's you, refinancing of her house in California while your father resides in the house. What does that mean?
Basically, we borrowed money on the house, and I agreed as long as her father was living there that I would share in the cost.
What do you mean you borrowed money on the house?
The house belonged originally to Michelle and her sister. Her sister basically wanted nothing to do with the loan that we needed when we moved to Las Vegas.
Just a minute. What you telling me you took out a home equity loan on the house?
Yes.
Well, why don't you just say that? That's something
Okay.
I understand very clearly. You took out a home equity loan on her house.
On her house.
On her house. On her property.
Correct.
And what'd you all do with the money?
We moved to Las Vegas.
Together?
Together.
How much money, sir, would you say you used of the home equity loan?
Between the two of us, all of it.
How much?
Your Honor, I can't give you an exact
Give me an
amount.
idea.
Okay, the first loan was in the amount of $75,000 is correct. Over $40,000 of it went to purchase a home here in Peter's name. I was not on that house. I given him the money for the down payment. We lived there. And the rest of it was to pay off consumer debt and to live because Peter didn't have a job from the time we moved to Las Vegas until shortly after we moved in October of 91. It wasn't until the end of January of 92 that he found employment.
Is that right?
That's correct.
Judge Judy will continue in a moment.
$270 a month is an outrageous amount of child support from what apparently is an educated man like yourself in his own business, right, who's got money for a tape recorder.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Michelle Bassler wants her ex-husband, Peter Korer, to pay his share of their federal income taxes. He wants her to stop harassing him.
The reason I find that interesting is because I read your answer, sir, and in your answer, sir, you said that she didn't work, that you supported the whole family, that you worked and took care of everything, she just stayed home.
For the most part, I met the obligations. I was the one earning the money to pay back the loan.
Well, how much did you pay back?
We were paying probably around $1,000 a month. But
how much did you pay back?
We paid back at whatever the loan payments were until there was a balloon at the end of the loan. That's what caused the refinance.
How much did you pay on
The
it?
loan was a 30 due in 3. At the end of 3 years, I had a refinance. Peter made one payment before our divorce, and the rest of the time my sister and I took care of it.
Okay. Now, what's all this other thousands of dollars for harassment, Mr. Cora?
She has taken me to court for several things. She has told the district attorney statements that were absolutely false, and she has dragged me to court. She's made me out to be a deadbeat dad. I have paid every dime of my child support. My child is my primary concern. My divorce decree says 18% of my income. Since my income fluctuates, my child support payments fluctuated. So she
did you have lawyers representing you in this divorce proceeding?
Yes, I did.
Did you?
Yes, Your Honor.
Don't you understand, madam, that when somebody is self-employed, you don't say, I'm going to accept 18% of his income. That brings you back and forth every single time a month comes due because you don't have a paycheck to look at, and you have absolutely no way of checking. And the only way she has to check, sir, is if she takes you to court. So this is a very foolish thing to have in a support order, 18% of your income. Very stupid.
Your Honor, can I play a tape for you?
Just a second.
It's very critical in the harassment charges.
Just a second.
Yes.
Tell me what the tape is going to say to me.
Basically, it goes with her rambling on and on, how I'm going to take you to district court, I'm going to take you to family court, I'm going to keep you in court, I'm going to make your life miserable.
So why don't you go into court, sir, and say, I want a fixed amount to pay every week?
We already have that. The district attorney ordered me to pay $270 per month, period.
Your Honor, that issue is not finished. He has to prove his income. He supplied me with computer-generated income taxes in family court. And when we went for divorce, I was not represented. Peter went to court by himself.
Listen to me. I think that until you get the issue of support resolved, there is going to be continued acrimony. You cannot have a support order that says 18% of your income, especially when you are self-employed. So I would suggest as fast as you can to get the matter of support resolved.
It has been.
No, not according to her. If a district attorney directs you to pay a certain amount of money, sir, that is not a court proceeding. A district attorney is there as an interim advocate. So he has suggested that until this matter is ultimately resolved, you pay $270. But I'm telling you this, sir, if the judge, after hearing this case, determines that you, in fact, earn more than what you told the district attorney, based upon several factors, some of which I don't think I'm going to tell you now, so that they might come as a surprise to you. You must be prepared to pay more than the $270 a month, because that doesn't probably represent 18% of your actual income. We understand each other?
Yes.
Perfect.
Judge Judy is ready to rule.
Your counterclaim, sir, is dismissed. I am
You won't
awarding...
allow me to play this one last piece of evidence?
No, I'm not interested in her telling you she's going to take you to every court in the United States, including the Supreme Court of the United States. $270 a month is an outrageous amount of child support from what apparently is an educated man like yourself in his own business, right, who's got money for a tape recorder. So if she's annoyed that you went through clearly with her a lot of her money, I can understand that. Shouldn't have to trust you. I get $373, Bird. I get half of $1089.
Right, which is $544.65 was what I came up with.
$544. Go ahead.
65.
Less
And then
ones?
I took away $175, and I
what'd you
came up
get?
with $369.65.
Oh, that's right. 369, judgment for the plaintiff. Thank you very much.
Parties are excused. You may step out. Case number 428 on the calendar in the matter of Birmingham versus Cameroni. Parties have been sworn in, Judge. You may be seated. Sir, have a seat.
All right, the chronological posture of this case is as follows. You, sir, are employed in a jail.
Yes.
As a guard.
As a deputy, yes, ma'am.
And there came a time when you, Miss Cameroni, were an inmate in that jail, having been convicted of some speeding violation. Is that correct?
Yes, that's correct.
You claim that while you were in the jail, you were subjected to maltreatment by the plaintiff.
Yes, that's correct.
You complained to your husband. Is that you?
Yes.
Who sent faxes to the warden.
That's correct.
And as a result of those faxes, you were further mistreated by the plaintiff. Then you served your time, you got out of jail, and you started to write on the internet about the plaintiff and about the things that you suffered from while you were in jail at his hands. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct.
And you're suing her for slandering you.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you ever sue him?
No, I did not.
You chose to take out whatever anger that you had by using the computer.
Well, I chose to tell my story through a website instead of suing civilly.
Okay. How long have you been employed as a deputy in the jail, sir?
3 years, ma'am.
And what were you doing in the jail? You were there for the speeding ticket. For how long were you actually incarcerated?
I was incarcerated for 3.5 months.
Why? That was a pretty long time for a speeding ticket.
Well, back in 1993, I had drove my Corvette at 145 miles an hour up the freeway.
Why would you do that?
You know, I realized it was wrong and I shouldn't have done it. You know, and it was a long time ago, and I know it was dangerous. But the treatment that he put me through...
No, I'm not getting to the treatment. So that's what you were there for.
Yes.
Now, tell me about the first time you had a contact with him.
That was June 6th of 1997. He was on night duty at the time, and he was assigned to the tower and the walkthroughs. And he would open and shut the door all night, a loud metal door, so I could not sleep. And then when the sergeant came through at 8 a.m. and asked me why I was still sleeping, I told him I couldn't sleep because of the loud door opening and shutting. And the sergeant says, I'll take care of it, it won't happen again. And that took care of that situation. I started having problems again when I filed a habeas with the court, which was not welcome with many of the jail staff.
What kind of habeas?
I was being denied medication that my doctor had prescribed.
What kind of prescriptions were you supposed to be taking? Don't show me letters. Look at me. Stop playing with papers.
Okay. I was supposed to be taking pain medication and Luvox and...
what was that for?
It was for my depression. I went through a court-ordered psychiatric review and...
so you were supposed to be taking medicine,
psychiatric,
for psychiatric problems.
Yes, and then for my insomnia, I was supposed to take something for that.
So you filed a habeas corpus proceeding because you said that they refused to give you that medication.
Right.
And were you ultimately given the medication?
After the habeas corpus proceedings, yes.
Well, what did that have to do with him?
Well, when I had come back from court to the jail, he was the one who removed the handcuffs and the shackles, and he was very rough in twisting my arms. And he was telling me, I hope it was worth it when he was removing the handcuffs.
So when was the next time you had a problem with him?
Well, after that, I had constant problems with him.
Tell me about them.
And with another inmate. Well, there was a particular inmate in there who...
And now, are these things that you memorialized on your website on the internet?
I didn't go into detail on my website.
Do you have what you complain about, sir, in writing?
Yes,
that she wrote on the internet?
Yes, ma'am. I have parts of it, yes.
Can I see it, please?
The second paragraph on the first page is the beginning of it.
this is an accounting of life in jail and the very unprofessional conduct of two deputies in particular, another deputy and yourself, okay, towards her.
Yes, ma'am.
So far, this doesn't say anything. I want to see particularly what she says about you so I can address each of those things. Would you have him put a star next to the things that he's actually complaining about so that I could...
Ma'am, that's kind of hard to say.
No, I want to see, sir.
Well,
you are alleging that she either libeled and or slandered you.
Well, that's what I need to explain, ma'am. It's not just what she said. It's the context of my name is now associated with this website on the very first page of it, and it contains words rape, prejudice,
Show
racism.
me where that's alleged that you were any part of that, sir.
By reading it, ma'am, a normal person reading that will get my name twisted into that and see this.
Just a second. She doesn't allege anywhere in here that you raped her, correct?
No, ma'am.
She doesn't allege anywhere in here that you beat her, correct?
No, ma'am.
It says, gives a whole litany of her experiences in the jail, which may have included those things. But with regard to you, all it says is, the fact is that Deputy Birmingham acted in an unprofessional manner on numerous occasions while she was in custody. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, ma'am.
That's what you're complaining about.
Why is my name on the internet? This isn't anything to do with free speech. This isn't anything to do with her trying to raise funds to go to Supreme Court or anything like that. This is just her ill will to try to get revenge, and my name doesn't belong on the first page of her website.
Well, you were employed at the jail when she was there, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Do you remember her when she was an inmate?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Tell me what you remember about her.
I remember basically she'd complain about everything. She accused everybody of doing something wrong. She was just not your model inmate.
Mm-hmm. And how did you react to that, sir?
I didn't care. I was just doing my job, doing my 8 hours and going home.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
And he'd say things to me like, I could make it worse for you here. She could snap your little ass right in half.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Sheriff's Deputy Eric Birmingham says former inmate Judy Cameroni slandered him. Judy says he mistreated her in jail.
Mr. Birmingham, you've been employed according to you for 3 years?
Yes, ma'am.
How many disciplinary proceedings have ever been filed against you?
None, ma'am.
Are you still employed there?
Yes, ma'am.
You want to tell me, madam, what are the things you are specifically complaining about that he did to you? Tell me.
Okay, there was another inmate there who was she was the lover of the jail cook's daughter.
Oh, yeah,
and she was in there for, oh, no.
The lover of the inmates.
The lover of the jail cook's daughter.
Go. Do this one more time.
She was the lover of the jail cook's daughter.
Okay.
Okay. And she was a very tough woman. She had been incarcerated for beating up 2 of their sheriffs. So she was very tough and very large. And she gave me a very difficult time there. Many times she would back me into the wall and threaten to beat me up, and guards would come running to stop her. Every time she would do something bad to me, and it came down to discipline, she was not disciplined. And Deputy Birmingham chose not to discipline her, and many of the times when we had conflicts where she instigated it, he would choose not to discipline her. And it just made matters worse, and I felt it was very unprofessional for him to do this.
What's next?
It's just caused her to be more bold.
What's next?
Well, my husband sent a fax to the sheriff, which he had intercepted, Mr. Birmingham intercepted. He came up to my cell, dumped out my coffee, which I had to purchase through commissary, and he said he was sick and tired of me. He had the fax in his hand, and he says, you better call your husband and tell him not to send any more faxes.
Does that sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am.
That doesn't sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am.
Mr. Birmingham, are you trying to tell me that a fax of complaint was never received by you, indicating that you failed to take steps to protect this then inmate?
No, ma'am.
You never saw that?
No, ma'am.
He came into your cell with the fax?
Yes, he did, and he dumped out my coffee. And I felt that his unprofessional conduct was putting my safety in jeopardy. You know, and he'd say things to me like, I could make it worse for you here. She could snap your little ass right in half, and things like this.
When did he say that to you?
When he had the fax and dumped the coffee out.
Mm-hmm. Okay. You still taking medication?
Yes, I am.
Still the antidepressant medication?
Yes.
Were you on that medication before you were incarcerated?
Yes, I was.
Is this the first time you were incarcerated?
Yes, it was my first and only offense, and I haven't committed any crime since.
This was your first and only arrest?
Yes.
Uh-huh. Did you know that?
Frankly, ma'am, I didn't care.
Sure you did. Well, let me tell you why.
I had no business.
Let me tell
to
you
know.
why, Officer Birmingham. Here you're dealing with a woman, married woman, have children.
Baby.
And did something really dumb 4 years before. By the time it got through the process, only arrest, here she's given over 3 months to serve in jail. Pretty frightening prospect, wouldn't you say?
Can I add some clarification there?
Sure.
Okay. First of all, she spent approximately, and I'm not sure the number, 20 days back in 91 or whenever she was first arrested. She was committed after a trial and then got out on an appeal bond. So she had spent 20 to 30 days there already.
So you knew a little bit about her history, Officer.
Mm-hmm.
Now I do. Now I do, yes, ma'am.
Oh, sir.
He
Are you
knew.
telling me at the time that you folks were having, according to you, lots of difficulty with her husband faxing and everything else, that you didn't open up the file and take a look at it? Are you
I knew what she was there for, yes, ma'am.
Here was an inmate who was given lots of problems, who was not prepared to accept the regular drill of being in jail, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Right. And that presented a certain amount of irritation for all the people in jail. Now, how many guards are there in jail?
It depends on the shift in the day.
Give me some idea of how many people she would have come in contact with between all the shifts.
4 to 5 a shift. It's a small jail.
4 or 5 a shift and 3 shifts a day.
Yes, ma'am.
So 20 people.
Give or say.
She doesn't complain about all 20, right?
Yes, ma'am.
She only complains about really 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
Why do you think that is?
I don't know, ma'am. If she had such a problem with me, then why didn't she file a complaint with my department?
She did. She complained through him. She complained, sent a fax. I believe her when she says that you walked into her jail cell with the fax, irritated as hell. I believe her. She doesn't accuse you of any criminal behavior. She says that you were guilty of unprofessional behavior. That's a subjective term.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
I could pick up the phone, it's only 2 o'clock, and save my little baby. 600-mile round trip. And then she wouldn't see me.
Real cases, real people. Judge Judy. Prison guard Eric Birmingham says former inmate Judy Cameroni has damaged his reputation on the internet. She says he mistreated her.
Certainly what she's saying is you failed to protect her from another inmate who was dangerous. And that what you were really telling her was, listen, babe, you better just do your time quietly, stop complaining, stop making a pest out of yourself. Because if you do, there are things that we could do to make your life unpleasant. Is that what you're complaining about?
Yes, and he also, what he did was, the worst thing that he did was, he did a walkthrough, and he told me when I was watching the news sitting on a bunk, stand up, don't sit on the bunk. I sat on the ground. He says, don't sit on the ground, remain standing. So I remained standing. And then he continued the walkthrough upstairs and left. And I had laughed at a sexual remark that another inmate had made towards him. which is not allowed, but he did not discipline her for it because he welcomes these kind of remarks. And I had laughed, I've got dizzy, I sat down, and I got back up, and I knew I shouldn't have sat down on the bunk. So when he came back around the front door, and I was standing right by the phone, and he says, I'm putting you in lockdown, and tomorrow you cannot see your baby. So I told him, look, I'm standing right by the phone. I could pick up the phone, it's only 2 o'clock, and save my little baby the 600-mile round trip. And then she wouldn't see me. He says, I don't care. And I says, well, then you could have someone else call my husband not to make the trip. He would not do that. But you see, here's the disciplinary action he wrote up. And then he also took away my visiting privileges for 2 weeks, and that's all I had left.
Why
And
did you
he
take away
wrote it up.
Why did you take away a visiting
I
privilege?
did not take the visiting away.
What did you do?
It's a disciplinary review board.
What did you write her up for?
If I remember the incident, we had an extra bunk out in the day room area, and the rules state don't use anything it's not intended for. Okay, and she was sitting on the bunk watching TV, and like I told other people or whatever, and told her to sit down over on the tables. But I have no say on whether she loses visits or not. That's the
That's not
disciplinary
my
review board.
question. What this incident that you were talking about, that you wrote her up for?
I believe so. Yes, ma'am.
You wrote her up for was because she was sitting on a spare bunk rather than sitting on the table. Is that right?
Yes, ma'am. Jail is designed to have rules and to have structure, and that's all
Now,
it
did
is.
you know, Officer Birmingham, that she was supposed to have her visiting with her baby on the next day?
No,
Does
ma'am.
that sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am.
Doesn't
we don't
sound
have
familiar.
the only time they can make appointments for visits is on the day of the visit. So I would have no say or no knowledge of her
Officer
having a
Birmingham,
visit.
are you telling me, sir, that she did not say to you, if you're going to take away my visits, let me call my husband and tell him not to make this 600-mile trip? That doesn't sound familiar to you?
No, ma'am. I don't know.
You don't know if it sounds familiar. Is that what you're saying?
I don't remember hearing that. No.
Judge Judy continues in a moment.
Look, I'm going to resolve this matter very quickly. Okay. Officer Birmingham, you are in fact suing her. You are suing her for slander, for saying terrible things about you on the internet, on the website. I don't find that she said anything that was terrible about you. She said that you engaged in unprofessional conduct towards her while she was an inmate in the jail. If I have to make a determination today whether or not any of that is true, I would have to say, yes, I believe that you behaved in an unprofessional manner towards the defendant who was an inmate in your jail. And therefore, your lawsuit would be dismissed because truth is an absolute defense. I believe her, sir, when she says that you took her handcuffs off in a rough fashion, that you came into her room with a fax in your hand, spilled her coffee and said, listen, don't do this again, because I can make, in effect, can make your life unpleasant here. And I do believe that you wrote her up for sitting on a bed rather than sitting on a table, which caused her to lose her visitation privileges with her child. And when asked whether you would please just call her husband not to make the trip, because the trip would be for naught, she was blown off. That, to me, sir, is unprofessional behavior. So your lawsuit's dismissed. That's all.
Thank you.
Parties are excused. You may step out.
Du học nghề Đức, ngành cơ khí điện tử thì nó có những cái đặc điểm gì? Cơ khí điện tử nó thuộc một cái khối ngành, đó là ngành kỹ thuật. Cho nên là liên quan đến cái ngành này thì đa phần là các bạn nam thì lựa chọn nhiều hơn là các bạn nữ. Các bạn nữ rất là ít lựa chọn. Về cái công việc mà các bạn sẽ cái công việc mà các bạn sẽ được học và được đào tạo thì sẽ là bạn sẽ được học về sửa chữa, chế tạo và cải tiến các cái sản phẩm cơ khí điện tử, được thực hành, vận hành, lắp ráp, bảo trì các cái thiết bị cơ khí và điện tử trong quá trình sản xuất, được tìm hiểu về hệ thống sản xuất, tích hợp máy tính cũng như là hệ thống khí nén thủy lực, các vi điện tử, hệ thống điều khiển thông minh, cùng với các cái kiến thức về cảm biến, về robot. Đấy. Cái khối ngành điện tử tại Đức thì bạn sẽ được học gọi là học những cái kiến thức rất là tiên tiến, gọi là những cái kiến thức kỹ thuật tiên tiến của thế giới, thì bạn đã tập trung tại Đức rồi nên là bạn sẽ được học những cái kiến thức đó. Còn sau khi tốt nghiệp thì học viên có thể đảm nhiệm các cái vị trí vận hành, bảo trì, thiết kế, sửa chữa máy móc, thiết bị cơ khí điện tử trong các tòa nhà, tại các nhà máy sản xuất, doanh nghiệp ô tô, tàu thủy, hàng không. Đặc biệt, học viên có năng lực hoàn toàn có thể tự mở xưởng sửa chữa, sản xuất, chế tạo máy móc tại Đức. Đó là sau khi tốt nghiệp. Còn về cái trợ cấp trong quá trình học nghề thì các bạn có sẽ được trợ cấp từ 900 cho đến 1.500 euro một tháng. Bạn làm thêm thì lương làm thêm cũng được 9,5 cho đến 12 euro trên một giờ. Sau khi ra trường thì mức lương sẽ là 2.900 cho đến 4.000 euro trên một tháng. Chuyên ngành của các bạn là chuyên về cơ khí và điện tử. Sau thời gian làm việc 3 cho đến 5 năm tại Đức thì bạn sẽ được định cư, gọi là có cơ hội định cư lâu dài tại Đức. Đó là cái khối ngành kỹ thuật, và khối ngành kỹ thuật là một cái khối ngành đặc thù, cho nên là gần như cái tỷ lệ nữ giới không có, mà tỷ lệ nam giới là chủ yếu, vì nó là cái khối ngành đặc thù và nó phù hợp với nam giới hơn. Vậy thì có bạn nam nào mà gọi là có sở thích về ngành kỹ thuật thì hãy mạnh dạn đăng ký cái chương trình du học nghề Đức, cái chuyên ngành cơ khí điện tử.